AFL.
On ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
They say in life it's not about how you fall, it's how you get back up again. And for Geelong, the opportunity exists this afternoon in Hobart to bounce back from their Easter Monday defeat at the hands of Hawthorn. Today they face North Melbourne, who are certainly not without their own challenges in season 2022, languishing near the tail of the field with one win in the first 5 rounds. They do lose a couple of key personnel for today's clash, and know they'll have to take every opportunity against the Cats team looking to regain its place either in or perhaps back on the cusp of the top 4. Great to have your company as always on Grandstand AFL. Bellreeve Oval is cool and sunny. It's just a superb day for footy. My name is Brett Sprigg, and to call the action alongside me is Chris Rowbottom. Thanks for having me, Chris.
G'day, Spriggy. Wonderful to be here. Hobart looking an absolute treat this afternoon. Blue skies, sun is shining here at Bellreeve, and an intriguing encounter in front of us as well. Geelong coming off that loss to the Hawks last week. North Melbourne perhaps not having the season they'd like, but they regain a couple. Taron Thomas, the local amongst them, really excited to see how he goes. On the other side of the ledger, Patrick Dangerfield misses for the Cats, which leaves a significant midfield and forward hole. So that'll be interesting to see how they patch that up, and it should be a good, clean, fast game of footy this afternoon, Spriggy.
Yeah, so no late changes. You mentioned Patrick Dangerfield has withdrawn from Geelong's squad due to a calf complaint. So too Jack Henry with a foot injury. Luke Dalhouse is being managed, although he's listed as their medical sub today. In comes Ollie Dempsey, the young forward picked up in the rookie draft last year from Kerry Grammar. He's an ex-basketballer. Sean Higgins returns against one of his former sides as well. While for the Kangaroos, Tom Powell and Eddie Ford have been omitted. Jaden Stevenson will miss with illness, and perhaps most regrettably Aaron Hall, who is out with a hamstring injury. They bring in a debutant as well, Paul Curtis. He was their second-round pick last year. He kicked 4 goals in the VFL last week. And as you say, Taron Thomas returning from a concerning internal injury which he suffered a few weeks ago, and Cameron Zurhaar is back in as well. Their sub today, North Melbourne, is Eddie Ford. Our Grandstand AFL team of experts, a 300-game saint and current Bulldogs AFLW coach Nathan Burke. Hello, Burkie.
Hello, gentlemen. What a lovely day down here in Hobart. I think I've been down here probably half a dozen times, and this is the best of the lot. Nice and sunny, no wind. Should be a great game of football. And
former Tiger and Port Adelaide spearhead Jay Schultz. Welcome to Grandstand AFL, Jay.
G'day, gents. How are we? It's when I moved down here 18 months ago, I got told to prepare for the cold and the freeze and the snow even, and it's just really not showing at the moment, boys. It's a beautiful day.
You've gone shorts and T-shirt as well, so you've really assimilated quite well, haven't you?
I think I've got used to it, mate.
We know where North Melbourne are at this stage of things, but the criticism they got from what they dished up against the Bulldogs and all the chat about whether they deserve to host Good Friday and all of that sort of stuff, it's as much about how they respond to Savo as well as Berkey.
It is a bit. Look, the game against Sydney was a great game. It was a great effort by them, but the problem is the gap between that effort and the effort that they showed last week, it's just too big. And if I'm David Noble, I'm not aiming for finals or anything like that. One of the big things I'm aiming for is just to restrict that gap between their best and their worst. And hopefully today we get closer to their best than their worst.
Yeah, no, and Berkey's spot on there. Like, if we can, even they showed it in a quarter, last week, but they need to be able to, spread that out over 4 quarters, or even, 2 quarters into 3 quarters, and then, expand that over the season.
A reminder, of course, you can text us, come along for the ride, 0437 774 7743. Big games of footy today, of course, on Anzac Day Eve. We've just had the observance here. Of course, we have Anzac Day footy tomorrow in Launceston as well. We'll all be there for that. Looking forward to Hawthorn and Sydney, but it's always a special occasion, and seeing the observance, of course, the ode, the last post and the rouse and the anthems. Of course, we've got the New Zealand national anthem as well here at Bellreeve. It is just always a sight to see, particularly on a nice day such as this. Is there now a reasonable blueprint to beat the Cats? Did Hawthorn show us that last week?
Look, they just worry me a little bit, the Cats. Their best here is very good, but they have the ability to just drop away from the way that they want to actually play football. And again, a little bit like North Melbourne, the gap isn't as stark as what North Melbourne's is, but it's there. And if they're going to be a finals contender, they've got enough experience in that side. Plus, they've got enough sort of exciting youth coming through with Close and Stengel and these sort of guys as well to give you a fair bit of excitement. Good thing is it's round 6. You don't need to be as super consistent, but a win in round 6 is the same as a win in round 18. They both give you 4 points. So to me, I'm looking for a little bit more consistency out of that Geelong side.
I find it hard sometimes to take a lot out of a Cats-Hawks game because there is that rivalry. It's almost like trying to take something out of a Port Crows game, where you just any given day it just goes either way, no matter where you are sitting on the ladder. So, look, for me, Geelong started really well in the season, but like Berkey's saying, they do have that ability to sometimes just switch off or not come quite prepared to play. So they've got a good bunch of youth coming through, but yeah, it's a bit the same. We need to close that gap for them so they can play more consistent over the year.
What are you focused on today, Berkey? What are your key focus areas across these two sides?
For North Melbourne, for me, it's where the goals going to come from, because we've had Larky's kicked 14-8. The next best is Zeeble on 6. So there's not a lot of help with Larky. I think Larky's going to be a really good player. I think he's a good player now, but I think he's got the makings to be a really good player. But he can't do it all by himself. You've got Goldstein only kicking the 5, whereas you look at Geelong, they've got Cameron with 12, we've got Hawkins with 16, Stengel's got 8, Close has got 7. So their top 4 are all better than the second best North Melbourne player. So where are they going to craft those goals from? And Taron Thomas back into the side should help, but I'd rather him be playing sort of midfield forward than midfield back end.
Is there a slight watch, Berkey, on Todd Goldstein today? He's in the team. Callum Coleman-Jones came across from Richmond. He was an emergency. He didn't make the final 22. Goldstein only the 9 disposals and 16 hit-outs. Sherry looks to be taking the number 1 spot. Should North Melbourne start to look to get games into Callum Coleman-Jones?
Look, I think they need to at some stage, absolutely, because Todd's not getting any younger. They will counter with his kick 5, and he's leading their score assists with 5. But you expect more from a guy who was at one stage running around as the best ruckman in the league. So, yeah, you do need more, and he can't just be that guy who he attracts a defender. He's got to do more than that.
Joel Selwood's won the toss, and the Cats will kick to the river end here at Bellerive Oval. Let's check in boundary side. Nicole Bresnahan is there for us. Nicole, good afternoon to you.
Thanks, guys. How you doing?
Going well. What's it like down there?
Yeah, like you mentioned, we've got some perfect conditions down here at boundary level at Bellerive Oval. There's hardly any breeze nor a cloud in the sky at the moment, so should be a top of around 18 degrees today, but definitely getting warmer.
Thanks, Nicole. We're checking with you across the Arvo. Final word, Jay, who do you like?
Cats for about 25, I reckon.
Berkey?
Oh, I'm going to go the upset. North going to bounce back and win by 3 points.
Superb day, and this is a nice occasion, a nice day for Tassie's first crack at AFL footy in season 2022. Here's Chris, right on Grandstand AFL.
Grandstand AFL indeed. Round 6 action from Hobart. Sherry and Stanley crush bodies in the middle of the ground. Knocked out by Stanley, only as far as Duncan. First foray forward for the Cats. Coming across was Mackay, spilled out to Brian Myers, who rolled the ball towards goal. It'll go through for a minor score. First score of the afternoon, Geelong. Opening minutes of the first term.
First clearance, first inside 50, first score, albeit not what they were after.
We saw Adelaide kick a goal. No, sorry, not. Sorry, it was West Coast kick one within 40 seconds and took an hour, 30 minutes to kick another one.
Don't remind me, Berkey. Scott goes up the line here, and now the ball's in dispute in the middle of Bellerive Oval. We'll ball it up again just to the right of the bullseye.
I was in Adelaide last night watching that game. I am hoping for a better standard game today. I think I'm in for it.
It can't be too hard. Away it goes. Parfitt grabs it away here for the Cats. Tumbles a kick inside forward 50. Hawkins out to meet it now on the bounce. He snaps 45 out, sends it goalward now and finds the lead of Cameron. Nice work from the two key forwards. Cameron leads up from full forward and takes the chest mark. No more than 30 out, slightly right of centre.
Yeah, you can just see from their first couple of bounces and stoppages there, they're just going quick kid in straight away. You know, Tommy Hawkins is playing in front, come and meet the ball, and that meets them well. So they all know they're on sync. They're just trying to get the ball forward early.
Jeremy Cameron kicked 3 goals, 1 against the Hawks last week. We're right behind him as he kicks here, straight over the goal umpire's hat. And the Cats do have the first goal of the afternoon. They're 1-1-7, North Melbourne yet to score. Now, scoreboard is frozen. There's no clock either. We've played, though, I can tell you, 90 seconds inside the opening term here on Grandstand AFL.
well done by Tommy Hawkins too. He led his player out, picked up the rolling ball, ran about 46, 47 metres out, and generally early in the game you can be excused for sort of swinging around, and he'd probably get the distance, hooking the ball around the corner. And I think the North Melbourne defence expected him to do that and sort of sag back to the goal square, but did the team thing, saw Cameron leading out to the fat side of the ground and put it nicely onto his chest for an uncontested mark. So really good, those two working together. If they can really find some sync and work in tandem, it's going to be tough to stop.
Back in the middle, Geelong first goal of the game. They lead by 7, opening minutes of the first term. Up it goes. It'll be recalled. First blemish from the umpire this afternoon. We'll get a restart in the middle of Bellerive. Sherry and Stanley. This time it was Stanley with the double palm down to Selwood, who faked the handball to Parfitt. He elected to kick inside 50. Meeting it was Turner for North Melbourne. Couldn't grasp it. Come up to Myers. He shared it with Tui. Got it off to Stewart, who'll go inside 50 for the Cats. Getting back, strong mark was Luke McDonald deep in defence.
McDonald throws it out to the right half-back position where he finds the chest of Davies-Uniacke. He had 22 touches last week against the Dogs on Good Friday. Davies-Uniacke, he's called a play in front of the scoreboard here. He just balks his way around Isaac Smith. Up the line he comes, eastern wing at Bellerive, and it's intercepted though, marked by Stewart. The Cats come back inboard now for Cam Guthrie. Dummies the hand pass, holds it for a moment, called to play on now from behind the centre circles, just bumps, it's a wobbly ball inside forward 50. Bounced away here. Out to Bailey Scott in defence for the Kangaroos. Shares a hand pass. They can rebound now through Flynn Perez. He comes back to the broadcast wing. Kick was a little too deep down there for the target of Larkey. And now Zeeble is dumping the tackle of Kolodjasny. And will throw it back in between the benches on the commentary side. Geelong 1-1-7. The Kangaroos yet to score through the opening 3.5 minutes.
You never know which end Zeeble's going to start, but he's starting forward this week.
Boundary throw in it comes. Sherry gets to the front, palmed it down, looking for Davies-Uniacke. Found him, wheels around onto his right boot, kicks towards left half forward for North Melbourne. Kolodjasny at the back. He'll mop up with De Koning. He got it off to a teammate who found Duncan, who received the kick from O'Connor. He's at right half back for the Cats. Short ball is good to Stewart. His third touch of the afternoon. He kicks towards half forward for Geelong. Pack forms, but it's Mackay getting in front and taking the mark for North Melbourne.
So from centre half back, he uses the corridor. Simpkin marks now. Trying to really get their first foray forward here, the Kangaroos, after 5 minutes at Bellerive. He comes wide now to the outer wing. Sits up on the bounce for Goldstein. Works it all the way back here for Bailey Scott. And work around Blitzarves. Up the line he comes, and it's a nice intercept mark going back with the flight, Mark O'Connor. The Irishman marks at left half back. The Cats have the first 7 points of the game through the opening 5 minutes.
So O'Connor will go back to where it came up the wing. Mackay got out, couldn't take it on the chest, went again, came up with it. Myers emerged with the ball, got the hands to Higgins, who fed it out to Duncan. They're on the move now, the Cats. Here's Close from 50, runs to 45, flying shot on goal from Close. He splits the middle, Geelong have 2. Brad Close has his first, and the Cats open up an early lead at Bellerive. 2-1-13 Geelong. North Melbourne yet to score. 5 minutes gone. First term for Grandstand AFL.
Well, I think it was just a scrum round about sort of 60, 70 metres out for goal, and Harry Mackay actually came flying out to try and take the intercept mark. And he got involved in the play, which allowed Hawkins, to be the smart player that he is, to just drift out the back. And as the ball came forward, it was Hawkins who got the ball, long handball over the top to Close. So Mackay's got to be really careful that if he comes into the play and tries to impact it, he has to either win the footy or kill the footy, because Tom Hawkins is too smart in his positioning without any player to not be used and not end up in goals for the Cats.
Just heard a loud cheer for Ollie Dempsey making his debut, running on here for the Cats. We've got some debut memories at some point this afternoon as the Cats win the clearance here. Guthrie's hand pass a little too hot though for Duncan. He does take Taron Thomas high. That will be a free kick for North Melbourne.
I like it when players, they get other players high, they know it's a free kick, so they just make it extra hard.
Thomas comes wide to Simpkin on the logo commentary side. Sweeps a hand pass wide now for Scott. To balk around Ollie Dempsey. High ball inside forward 50. Marking targets, up they go. Crumbing at Davies-Uniacke. Snaps on goal from 40. No one's back home there. It's missing to the right-hand side, though. It is the Kangaroos' first score of the afternoon. They are just the one behind Geelong. 2-1-13. 7 gone in the first quarter on Grandstand AFL.
Zach Tui, kick in duties, assesses what's in front of him. Eventually just stabs one short into the left back pocket, finds Blitzarves. He plays on by hand to the run of Isaac Smith. Left foot wobbler up the line is no good. It's chopped off by Zerha for North Melbourne. 75 metres out from goal, goes inside 50 in the Goldstein direction. Larky came from too deep, couldn't hang on. Off hands was Smith, just barrelled it out of defence with a high left foot ball. Collision of bodies on the outer side. Myers had it. He's wrapped up by Zerha, and there'll be a whistle and a ball up at right half forward for North Melbourne.
That's one good thing that Larky really does, is he just comes hard at the ball no matter where it is or what's going on in the game.
Voice of Jay Schultz on Grandstand AFL. Cats again with the clearance. Away they come. Tui shares it back to Kolodjasny. Across the goal mouth now. It's a dicey hand pass picked up by Blitzarves. Tui turns blind. He's wrapped up. Great tackle it was from Paul Curtis, also on debut. And the ball is free in the pocket. Goldstein spills it. They go again, the Kangaroos, through Curtis Taylor. And he kicks it out of bounds on the full under pressure. So the Cats will start again from the left back pocket. Geelong leads 2-1-13. The Kangaroos just the one behind. 8 gone first term.
Good forward pressure there by the Kangas. That's what they need to do. Keep it in their forward line as long as they can.
Blitzarves received from Tui. He gave it back to Tui. Cleared defensive 50. Holmes couldn't take the marks. Stengel took it off hands. Gave it to Duncan. Left foot ball up the outer wing in the Hawkins direction. Worked his man underneath it. It fell out the back to Cameron, who takes a bounce. Now combines with Hawkins by hand. They're at left half forward. Eventually it spills out of bounds. Couldn't bring it under his spell. Hawkins will have a boundary throw in right in front of the hill. Geelong 2-1-13 lead North Melbourne 1 behind. 8.5 gone first term for Grandstand AFL.
They actually defended the ground really well there, the Roos, and they were working hard through the middle of the ground to get back and help and support.
Stoppage here just outside 50 for the Cats. Stanley goes up against Sherry. Duncan a hand pass wide. They go neat to the pocket. Hawkins was nicely worked from the Cats. No, not 15, play on. Hawkins has to get it away quickly. Oh, it's awkward here as Blitzarves comes in, lays the tackle down there on Curtis Taylor. And it's still jarring free. Brian Myers out after it as well. Can the Cats work it clear and go for a goal scoring opportunity? It's just thumped away by Simpkin. And it is marked, though, by Duncan of the Cats, right on the paint of 50 in the left forward pocket. He wheels on quickly, goes inside 50, and he finds the standing target there in Jeremy Cameron. And this time he's only about 5 or so in from the boundary line, 25 metres out left-hand side.
It's really frustrating that, because the ball was kicked out to Duncan. There was ample opportunity for the Cats.
He opens up the angle here. He plays on quickly, Jeremy Cameron. It's an absolute flower bag. It's coming to the outside of the boot and it'll land in the pocket, or a simple mark is taken, although it's going to be a free kick going Geelong's way, as it was Dempsey, I think, who was felled, and will go up against Lockie Young. So here is a moment for young Ollie Dempsey, deep in the right forward pocket, no more than 20 out. Memories of your debut, Jay?
My memories of my debut, I played the last 2.5 minutes. I got one tackle.
I was going to say, was that
and then I got dropped the next week for not having enough impact on the game.
That was the last year where you had played on the bench for 3 quarters, didn't you? Here's Ollie Dempsey, and inside the first 10 minutes, a shot at goal for Geelong. He's on the approach for the Cats' third, and he's
tried to ease that in
left-hand side.
I did wonder whether Jezel was going to go on the right or he was going to take a drop punt.
You're right, he went the non-preferred side, the right. We're at 2-2-14 Geelong. The Kangaroos won behind 11 gone the first term.
It looked a nervous sort of kick, didn't it, for his first in AFL footy from Ollie Dempsey, as Aidan Corr brings things in from full back, hits Luke McDonald on the chest. He's in the right back pocket for North Melbourne. He's going to come across the ground now, spot something he likes. It's Young. So transfers play to the opposite side of the ground. He'll come to the broadcast wing over the head of Goldstein. Over the back was Curtis for North Melbourne. Won the handball, couldn't get it up to Perez. Eventually it'll spill out of bounds for a boundary throw in. Right in front of the interchange benches. Bathed in sunshine. Bellerive Oval this afternoon. A perfect Hobart day. Wonderful afternoon for footy. In it comes. Stanley won it down, got it to Holmes, who got it to Higgins by hand, handball to nobody in particular. It eventually landed into the arms of McDonald, who tried to get North Melbourne forward, but his kick was out of bounds on the full. It would be a Geelong free kick at right half back by Jake Kolodjasny.
Waste no time, Kolodjasny finds his skipper Selwood, marks further on towards the wing, and now some contact coming late here on Smith. That will be a free kick against Luke McDonald for the former Hawk. Isaac Smith, also a left footer. Goes searching up inside forward 50. Close in the contest against Thomas. Goldstein floats across from the side. Can't reel it in. Fires a hand pass away. Dempsey puts the tackle on Thomas. The ball comes free. Picked up by Tui here of the Cats. Intercepted now away by Davies Uniacke. And will throw it back in. 75 around from Geelong's goal at the River End here at Bellerive Oval, where the Cats lead by 13 points.
Both teams struggling to find some space here at the moment. They're really defending the ground in clumps and tough to work it through.
In it comes again. Goldstein got to the front. McDonald came up with it. Met strongly by Selwood. All wrapped up. Ball eventually spilled out. Umpire said it was holding the ball. He took on the tackler, Luke McDonald.
Bad guy to take on Joel Selwood.
Ill-advised. And Selwood comes up with a free kick. He chips short to Tui, who's 65 from goal. Might even fancy himself from here, Zach Tui. You know he's got the leg. Nothing presents immediately. He goes one way then the other. Balks the man on the mark. Eventually handballs sideways to Selwood. His kick was affected by McDonald. Got the handball up to Davies Uniacke. He spun in and then out of trouble. Back to McDonald. Short ball misses Marnie. He's tackled by Blitzarves. Immediately taken the ground. And we'll have a ball up on the broadcast wing, just forward of the wing, 75 metres out from Geelong's goal.
I think Roo's intent at the moment is actually really good. They're covering the ground really well.
Away from the stoppage here, Greenwood dumping the tackle, can't get a kick away. Tries again here. He's also taken the ground a second time, this time by Sean Higgins. It'll come loose now for the Cats. Isaac Smith puts them inside forward 50. Sprawl comes here from Aidan Core. Bounced out in space. Greenwood for the Roos. Hand pass away here. McDonald off balance. Gets some sort of kick away though. It'll work out for Tui perhaps. No. Couldn't quite control it. Gets away though from the tackler now. It's off with De Koning. Now back to Tui on the 45. Brings it wide again as Blitzarves' second bite does wheel it in just forward of halfway in front of the Ricky Ponting stand.
Blitzarves laterally to Tui. He's had a lot of footy in this first term. Cuts inside. He thought about a switch of play. Eventually gets back onto his right boot. Spearing ball towards half forward, but getting across was McDonald, who's also been prominent early. He marks it half back for the Roos. Short ball across the ground is good to Scott. And the Roos have it in defence. He'll play on Scott. Onto his left boot. Kick towards the broadcast wing. Contest forms. Big fly Larkey. Couldn't bring it down. Thomas roved it off the pack. He was immediately claimed by Parfitt. We'll have a ball up. Right on centre wing in front of the interchange benches. Geelong lead 2-2-14. Kangaroos one behind.
15 gone in the opening term. Comes down here for Pesanova-Lagi. Hand pass off across half back, and they can swing it wide. Lockie Young on the bounce. It'll sit up down there for a Turner, and his kick is a shocker again. It's marked by Atkins of the Cats on the outer logo.
Atkins comes inboard to Duncan, who marked. It was knocked out of his hands in the process, but umpire said nothing doing. He's on the back of the square for Geelong. He'll go the barrel. Look for pure territory. Was over the hands of Thomas. It evaded close. Higgins came up with it. Got the handball off to Dempsey. Over the top to Selwood. Flashing through was close. Chance for a second. Misses to the near side. A minor score for Geelong. Go to 2-3-15. Kangaroos one behind. 15 and a half gone first term.
Wouldn't say the kicking efficiency is a highlight of this game at the moment. There's quite a few just going astray and hitting the other team, not even just intercepting marks, they're just kicking it straight to them.
So the Kangaroos still deep in their defensive 50 as Curtis Taylor comes up the line for a mark by Simpkin. So on the junction of 50 in his defensive half. Kicks for distance up the commentary side. Thomas takes a towering mark on the wing. They surge forward here, the Kangaroos. The skipper, Zeeble, marks. Just forward of the wing now. Plays on inside forward 50. 2-on-1 outnumbered down there is Larkey. Sliding in though Marnie, and that will be taking the legs. Free kick going Geelong's way. And it will go the way of Kolodjasny. The Cats lead by 14 points here, 16 and a half played.
Kolodjasny, the Tasmanian, right half back. Elects to go long up the line to where the height is. It was Sherry getting in front of Blitzarves. It come off his knees and it went out of bounds for a boundary throw in right in front of our commentary position here at Bellerive. Geelong 2-3-15, lead by 14. Kangaroos just one behind, 16 and a half gone in this first term. It comes again. Sherry will do the ruck work up against Stanley, who won it out of the ruck and got boot to ball. High ball towards half forward, but getting back, strong defensive mark was Mackay. Took on Hawkins and won.
Ben Mackay, he's yet to play against his brother Harry, and I think Harry's now injured and won't play next week against, as the kick here is an untidy one. It's out of bounds on the full from Bailey Scott, so the Cats get it back on halfway. Come back to my story in a second. Guthrie here plays on. It's just enough distance that time away from he ran too far.
No, downfield.
It's a downfield free kick.
It was a very soft bump. They virtually ran into each other.
So Curtis Taylor here penalised for this, and that means that Jeremy Cameron, who is within range, can line up from 40 out, slightly right of centre, the preferred side for a left footer as well. There are conspiracy theories that Harry and Ben Mackay are the same person, and you never see them on the same ground at the same time. That's the story I was getting to anyway. Jeremy Cameron on the approach from 40 for Geelong's third. He hits the left-hand goalpost, 2-4-16. The Kangaroos one behind, 18 gone in the first term.
Yeah, it was a little bit stiff. It was a downfield free kick. The chaser and the kicker virtually ran into each other. It wasn't a harsh bump afterwards, but almost a goal given away from something that was very minor.
Young with the kick in duties. Sherry flew, couldn't bring it down. It came to Stanley. High ball inside 50 for North Melbourne. Cameron couldn't take the mark. At ground level was close. He shoveled it to Cameron. Couldn't get it off the deck, and it'll spill out of bounds in the right forward pocket for Geelong. A boundary throw in. 18 minutes gone first term.
Just thought in this day and age where conspiracy theories are taking over, at least something as harmless as, two brothers being the exact same person is,
Well, Harry missing won't do the conspiracy theory any favours, that's for sure, next week if he does miss. Hawkins' handball was chopped off inside forward 50, ground level. Hawkins went and got it again. Spills out the back. Horn Francis for North Melbourne tracks it to the boundary line. It'll spill over for another boundary throw in. Still in the right forward pocket, river end of the ground, Bellerive Oval. Geelong lead 2-4-16 to North Melbourne 1 behind.
Back in it comes. The Cats attacking end. Hawkins in front of Sherry. Out in space. Balagi there for the Kangaroos. He spills the footy under pressure there from Myers. Still a ball in dispute. Simpkins slides in. Picked up by Selwood. Hand pass to Duncan. Comes wide again. Cam Guthrie snaps from 35. Out curls it around, but not enough. And he misses. The Cats are now 2-5-17. As we approach time on, the Kangaroos just the one behind.
Some of those shots are coming far too easy as well. That was just Guthrie standing 10 metres outside the pack all by himself. Should have put that one through.
North Melbourne, you get the sense, just hanging on early stages of this game. Curtis Taylor has it for North Melbourne at half back. He kicks up the line in the Goldstein direction. He stands tall and takes the mark. Plays on immediately by hand to Zeeble, who hits Larky on the chest. Too far out to score. He plays on. He didn't see Duncan. He's stripped of the footy. He was very lucky not to be called. It came out to Greenwood, who got it to Zeeble, and he finds a target at half forward. And it's Perez emerging with the footy, 65 metres out from goal. Luck's a fortune for Larky. He goes inside 50 now to the tall timber. Zerha came too deep. Got hands to it, couldn't take the mark. Greenwood strong in the congestion. Out to Curtis. First shot on goal for the debutant, it misses.
Yeah, Lucky was trying to do the right thing. He was trying to get the ball in there quick. He had two Kangas boys were streaming into goal versus one Cass defender, but he just didn't see the tackler on the other side.
Margin 15 points Geelong's way. The Cats bring it away quickly. Beyond defensive 50. Making a contest on the wing. Guthrie coming late here against Mackay. Or in fact, it was Walker. Now it's with Curtis, and he's wrapped up over the boundary line for a throw-in right in front of us. We're only about 15 rows back from the action here, which is a nice little vantage point. The outer hill is packed. We're on the western side, the rookie Ponting stand. Geelong by 15 points, 21 gone in the opening term. Back in it comes Goldstein. Down to Horn Francis. He's wrapped up, dispossessed. Stewart goes again for the Cats, and now Stanley turns tackler and will ball it up on the point of the square at left half forward for the Kangaroos.
And Paul Curtis would like that time again for his first goal. It wasn't that tough a snap, 15 metres out, dead in front.
Up it goes, Horn Francis, Rove, the Goldstein tap. Simpkins spearing ball onto the chest of Zeeble, couldn't take the mark, gave the handball to Greenwood, who bulked one way, bulked the other, fired on goal and nailed the running shot. Hugh Greenwood, the hometown hero, kicks North Melbourne's first. Geelong 2-5-17, North Melbourne 1-2-8 via the boot of Hugh Greenwood. 21.5 gone. First term for Grandstand AFL.
Yeah, it was great attack by Zeeble there, as you always expect him to do. Come hard at the ball, and then it was a great step as well and a good finish.
he's an important player for them, Greenwood. He's been okay. They brought him in for a reason. He has the ability to get a lot of the football, but adds a bit of sort of strength and height around that midfield for them as well. So it's good to see him pushing forward as a midfielder and getting himself on the scoreboard.
After the SMS, 0437 774 774, Neil in Coburg says, have a hunch North will be in the game for a long time. Pushed them there last year. I look forward to the calls. Thanks all. You're broadcasting the Swans game tomorrow, asked Mike and Connaughton. Yes, we are. Hawthorn Sydney at York Park tomorrow afternoon. Of course, the precursor to the MCG, Blockbuster Essendon Collingwood. Cats win the clearance here, although it's bobbled up here for Scott of North Melbourne. Hand pass out wide, and they'll clear away through Perez. Up the corridor, through the fingertips of the Geelong defence. Tui, though, mops up, spun the tackle, tries to find some space, shares it here with Stanley, and now swept wide by Higgins. Will come back here for a free kick for a hold. It will go the way of Zach Tui. He was dealt with after his disposal. He'll switch now, back to the commentary side. Kolodjowski, the running target. Propels them forward here, Geelong. Tries to find Smith. Coming late to the contest, McDonald takes it near the boundary line and finds the salvation. 55 out from Geelong's goal. And it will be thrown back into play. The Cats lead by just the 9 points. 2-5 plays 1-2. 23 played here in the opening term.
Tui's had a lot of the ball, and you can see why they want to get the ball in his hand as well. There's a beautiful kick out in front. Allowed his teammate to keep running.
Stanley rucked unopposed. Selwood off the ground. Inside forward 50 for Geelong now. Deep in defence. Dempsey's going to track it for the Cats. He can't get there. Knocked over for a minor score. Geelong 2-6. 18, North Melbourne 1-8. 23 and a half gone in this first term.
So Horn Francis marks in the left back pocket. Should point out, not every audience will hear Hawthorn City tomorrow. Of course, the best place to get all of our broadcasters on the AFL app and find a live call of every game there as up they go. Stanley just hacks it out of the air here for the Cats back towards half forward, and that will be out of bounds for a throw-in. Mark in Adelaide asks for an early crowd estimate. What do you reckon, Chris? Local knowledge? Throw a number out there.
Say 10.5.
Okay. Umpire heaves it back in. Cats by 10 points. Time on opening quarter. Horn Francis comes around here for the Kangaroos. Just tumbles it back up the line. Unkind bounce here for the North players, and it's picked off by Tom Stewart. Can the Cats get it back forward? No. Great tackle, and one away by Davies-Uniacke. They can go away from McDonald. Up the corridor again, 2-on-1. Tui through the air, does well. Wins it down here for Smith. She has it with the Koning. Off half back now. His hand pass swept wide, picked off by Davies-Uniacke. He can fire on goal from 52. It's offline, all the way out of bounds on the full to the right-hand side. No change to our score. Geelong 2-6. The Kangaroos 1-2. 25 gone in the opening quarter.
And North Melbourne just starting to pepper and get their game going here at Bellerive. Not quite cashing in on the scoreboard. Guthrie marks inside defensive 50 for the Cats. He'll come across the ground looking for Buse. Kicks okay. He gets on his bike. Immediately hits the short pass. Well, he tried to Atkins. He dropped the beans. McDonald was all over him. He regathered the footy somehow. Kick up towards the wing. And Tom Hawkins marks almost uncontested. Core came late. Tom Hawkins on the broadcast wing a long way from home. Left foot ball inboard looking for Cameron. Diving chest mark is good. He's inside the centre square. Left foot kick inside 50 for the Cats. Through the hands of Close. Off the back of the pack was Scott. Over to Mackay who got it to Horn Francis. He's all wrapped up by Stengel. Coming through was Dempsey. It'll spill out of bounds for a boundary throw-in in the right forward pocket for the Cats.
Stengel and Close have got really good closing speed as small forwards and putting a lot of pressure on, keeping Luke Dalehouse out of the team.
Now inside forward 50 for Geelong. Sherry got to the front of the ruck contest, out to Bosanavalagi. He found Scott, who had some room to move for North Melbourne. Clears defensive 50, but it's a shocking kick. De Koning's there to mop up for Geelong. Gave it to Stewart, conceded some ground, back to O'Connor. He's in Geelong's defensive 50. A grubber back to De Koning. O'Connor kept running, received the handball, and inside 50 go the Cats. Dempsey was worked underneath it. The whistle came late. There'll be a free kick to the debutant right on 50. And both players were just falling, and Hayne Turner got his hands in the back of Ollie Dempsey.
Interesting that the umpire in front put both hands up to signal play on, nothing in it, and the one behind decided that no, there was something in it. Both had the pretty much same view, but different interpretations.
So Dempsey, sporting the blonde locks and the headband, as is custom at Geelong, on debut. He'll kick from right on 50 metres, all the way to the teeth of goal. It won't have the journey. Boston-Valagi had to be tricky to get the ball under his spell. He did so eventually. The hack kick out of defensive 50 wasn't much chop for North Melbourne. Geelong will retain possession. Tui now assesses his options. Right foot kick in the Cameron direction. Couldn't take the mark. Brad Close roved the spoil. Inside 50 he goes. Getting across was Core, who couldn't take the mark. It fell to Parfitt, who had perhaps more time than he thought. Kick around the body is no good, and he misses a minor score to Geelong.
There's been some boys that the ball's just bouncing off the chest. Maybe they pumped them up too tight today.
Cats by 11 points, 2-7-19, plays 1-2-8. 28 minutes have elapsed in the opening quarter. As the Kangaroos kick out through Lockie Young beyond defensive 50. Strong grab taken here by De Koning. Just forward of the wing at right half forward. Opportunity late in the opening term here for the Cats to add to this lead. Players converge. It's through the fingertips of Sherry. Punched out wide here. Stengel goes to it now. He spills it. Hand pass back to Parfitt. 48 metres out now. Controls the ball to the pocket. Tries to find Cameron. Close got in his way. They'll rebound here. North Melbourne back beyond defensive 50. De Koning goes again. He can't mark. Ball in dispute at half forward. Socket away here by Parfitt of the Cats. Shares it with Tui. He balks around Marnie, the much smaller man. Goes inside forward 50. Off hands. Dempsey. Hand pass off to Cam Guthrie. Goes to the outside of the boot from 30 out. And it sails over the goal umpire's head. So the Cats do get one at last. After threatening for the last little while. They have their third of the afternoon, 3-7-25. Yes, you heard that right. 3-7 the Cats in this first quarter so far. North Melbourne 1-2-8, the margin 17 as we close in on quarter time.
It just ended up being a weight of numbers there at the end. They just kept going inside 50 after inside 50, and eventually they broke one through.
I think North Melbourne need to be careful a little bit with the long bombs inside the Geelong forward line. Mackay and I think it was Cherry as well. No, it was actually Lockie Young. Both went for the intercept, but both actually ran into each other. If one of them just talks a little bit more, allows the other one to go for it, it's pretty much an uncontested mark, and away they go. But 3 or 4 times now, in their desire to both intercept the footy, they've ran into each other.
Back in the middle, Duncan roved the tap, immediately claimed by Greenwood, who have another ball up, middle of the ground. Geelong 3-7-25, lead North Melbourne 1-2-8 deep into the first term. In fact, that'll be all she wrote for the first quarter of action here at Bellerive, where Geelong lead after 3-7-25 to North Melbourne's 1-2-8. The goal kickers for Geelong, Brad Close had one, Cam Guthrie had one, as did Jeremy Cameron. And for North Melbourne, Hugh Greenwood kicked their only major of the term.
17 points, the margin at the first change on ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital. This is Grandstand AFL.
Some shows are informative, others are entertaining, but only one show is a bona fide public service.
Unprecedented in modern times.
The team at The Weekly watches all the news so that you don't have to, and puts it all together again so you know everything you need to and nothing you don't.
Story after story.
The Weekly. You give us 30 minutes, we'll give you the week.
The new season of The Weekly.
Some assembly required.
Back this Wednesday night on ABC TV or log in to stream on ABC iView.
The 2022 AFL Premiership season.
Grandstand AFL on ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
Parfitt grabbed it away here for the Cats. Tumbles a kick inside forward 50. Hawkins out to meet it now on the bounce. He snaps 45 out, sends it goalward now and finds the lead of Cameron. Jeremy Cameron kicked 3 goals, 1 against the Hawks last week. We're right behind him as he kicks here, straight over the goal umpire's hat.
Myers emerged with the ball, got the hands to Higgins, who fed it out to Duncan. They're on the move now, the Cats. Here's Close from 50, runs to 45, flying shot on goal from Close. He splits the middle, Geelong have 2. Corn Francis roved the Goldstein tap, got it up to Simpkins, spearing ball onto the chest of Zeeble, couldn't take the mark, gave the handball to Greenwood, who bulked one way, bulked the other, fired on goal and nailed the running shot.
Ball in dispute at half forward. Socked away here by Parfitt of the Cats. Shares it with Tui. He balks around Marnie, the much smaller man. Goes inside forward 50. Off hands. Dempsey. Hand pass off to Cam Guthrie. Goes to the outside of the boot from 30 out. And it sails over the goal umpire's head.
This is the 2022 AFL Premiership season.
On ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
Geelong by 17 points, quarter time here at Bellerive on a superb day in southern Tasmania, and a few of your texts coming through as well. 0437 774 774. Mark from Bellerive, who's just local here, sitting on my balcony listening to the ABC. Love the broadcasting. Go Hawks. Hi guys, Rory in Melbourne, love your commentary. Which states will get the call of Hawthorn v Sydney tomorrow? I'm pretty sure it's just Tassie. Don't quote me on that, but I'll update you on that later on. And everyone else gets the build-up to Essendon Collingwood, as well as Hawthorn Sydney in full on ABC Sport Digital and the AFL app as well. Ben McCardle from KI says hi to the team. KI would be King Island?
King Island, absolutely.
100%?
Yep.
Right, there we go. I feel like a local already.
Covering all corners.
Here it's the Cats by 17 points, our experts on Grandstand AFL. I'm Nathan Burke and Jay Schultz.
A couple of really glaring stats that jump out. A lot of them are even. The couple that are interesting are 16-7 inside 50s in favour of Geelong, and they've gone inside 16 times. They've scored 7 times and mucked up another couple of times. So their efficiency going inside 50 is enormous. But I think what is actually driving that is they've had 52 more possessions than what North Melbourne have had. If that continues, you're going to end up with 200 more possessions, and this scoreboard is going to blow out enormously. The reason for that is I think North Melbourne are wasting their possessions a lot, unable to get long chains of possessions. They probably get 1 or 2 handballs, then a kick, then it turns over. They're unable to get 6, 7, 8 possessions in a row and get those numbers up, whereas Geelong, when they get the football, they seem to have more time and space to be able to find a loose player, have a couple of players overlap and run and get those possessions up. So if that 52 possession gap continues and they're 100 ahead at half-time, well then this is going to be a bigger margin than 17 points as it is right now.
You there? Right. I think probably the scoreboard is a little bit generous towards the Kangas. Obviously, they've had 10 shots, the Cats, and they should have had a couple of those that should have gone easily through. So I think they weathered the storm well early, the Roos. And then they started to get a little bit back in the middle part of that quarter, but then there's sort of the floodgate opened a little bit towards the end of that quarter there. They had repeat inside 50s, and then eventually Geelong put one on the scoreboard. But if they keep letting that happen in this next quarter, it could open right up.
Would you look at doing anything with Zach Tui if you're North Melbourne? He's been really prolific off half-back, 12 disposals, 7 kicks, and seems to be providing a lot of their drive out of the back half.
He is. He's picking up young Paul Curtis and that in their first game. So it'd be tough when you've got a player in their first game to say, hey, we want you to get the footy and kick some goals, but also we want to make sure that you actually play defensive as a half forward as well. So whether they've got somebody else in their makeup that can actually play that role, I'm not too sure. But, at the moment, I think you'd give the young fellow his head and just say, mate, you've snapped one shot for goal. You probably would have kicked 9 times out of 10, but you missed it. If you kick 1 or 2, well, then that's going to be the best way of curtailing a Tui, that if you get yourself on the scoreboard.
Of course, 2 massive games still to come today. Gold Coast and Brisbane Lions. Q-Clash 22 coming up at Carrara, while Richmond v Melbourne at the MCG. Of course, that's become one of the highlights as well of the Anzac Day round, commemorations across the AFL, and tomorrow, incidentally, Hawthorn Sydney live throughout Tassie on Sport Digital, Melbourne, Hobart, Adelaide, Perth and Darwin, and News Radio New South Wales and ACT. Of course, Anzac Day, you'll have special programs on your local radio stations in most parts of the country. As we get the second term underway, the Cats by 17, the Kangaroos win the first clearance. Simpkin puts them inside forward 50. At the feet here of Goldstein, he gathers, shares it with McDonald, tumbles a high ball toward the goal square. It's going to bounce through. The contest down there involving Koning and Larkey. But that kick for McDonald, which wasn't really looking for the goals, or perhaps it was in a way, it's just bounced its way And an otherwise empty goal square through for a major. So the ideal start for the Kangaroos in this second quarter, 2-2-14. They trail Geelong, who are 3-7-25, early stages second term.
Yeah, they just had a really nice, clean clearance out of the middle. So, and then they get it forward quickly and they get it forward to a one-on-one. So even though that's gone through, it was good to see Lucky was there one-on-one.
Davies Uniacke is a super important player for the middle, in the middle. He's probably the cleanest of their midfielders at the moment. If he can get his hands on it and dish the ball out to the Simpkins and that running past, that will go a long way to them keep staying in this game.
Back to 11 points. North Melbourne strike first in this second term. Back in the middle, Stanley won it down. Selwood will track it, paddle it to himself. Get the footy eventually. Burn off the... Well, he didn't in the end because he ran too far. He arched the back on Davies Uniacke, but the umpire said you took 2 steps too many, Joel Selwood. North Melbourne free kick. Davies Uniacke plays on to his lookalike in Bailey Scott, who shares it with McDonald. Gets it back to Scott. Little grubber inside 50 at the shoelaces of Zerha. He was good enough to gather. Back to Core. Handball laterally now to Davies Uniacke. Close broke it up. In for support was Young, who'll go inside 50 for North Melbourne in the Thomas direction. Got hands to it. Spilled it over the boundary line in the right forward pocket. We'll have a boundary throw in.
It almost went one too many handballs there, the Roos. They need to probably get it in a couple handballs earlier.
Cats by 11. Jack Siebel's boot came off, so he's just readjusting that. Back in it comes inside 50 for the Kangaroos. At the drop though here, Cam Guthrie fires at the hand pass, picked off by Greenwood. And again, Zerha goes in hard. He's tackled and the umpire will board up. 45 out from North Melbourne's goal at the River End. One of their inclusions this week, Cam Zerha, along with the debutant Paul Curtis and Taron Thomas as well. Umpire wastes no time. Rucks go at it. Waiting for a clearance. Hacked away by Isaac Smith, and Close will claim the mark on the wing commentary side. They keep running here. Away they go. The Cats up inside forward 50. Cameron gets some separation here on the defender. Now he snaps from close range in the right forward pocket. And that was a regrettable scenario for Josh Walker, who was left in Jeremy Cameron's wake. And Cameron now has his second. The Cats respond. They're 4-7-31. North Melbourne 2-2-14. We've played 3.5 minutes in the second quarter on Grandstand AFL.
I think Josh Walker made the critical error in a one-on-one contest. You're both running back towards goal. He actually lost his feet and went to ground. And once he did that, it just opened the door for Cameron to take his time and put it through. So whenever you're running back in a one-on-one, even if the other player's faster than you, you just cannot lose your feet. It was just a lunging, really. There was no need for him to lunge the way that he did. It just made it too easy for Cameron. But well played by the Cats off their half-back line. Close playing in front. Quick handball. The ball's over the top and running into open goal. That's how quickly it can happen.
Cameron's second of the afternoon. Back to 17 points in Geelong's favour. Davies Uniacke, though, out of the middle for North Melbourne. Left foot ball high towards the Kangaroos attacking 50. Zeeble couldn't get at it. Blitzarves could for Geelong. Handball over the top for Stewart. Back now to Atkins. Got around onto his left boot. Clears defensive 50. High ball to the outer wing. Dempsey flew. Couldn't take the mark. It'll end up with Sherry for North Melbourne. Handball in the Scott direction. He's met by Duncan. Goes to get it again. Close. Picks up the footy. He's wrapped up by a pair of Kangaroos. Core and Scott both do the tackling. We'll have a ball up just left of the centre circle here at Bellerive. Up it goes. Simpkin wrenches it out. McDonald fights hard. Works it to Davies Uniacke, who sends a high ball inside 50 for North Melbourne. Zeeble will track it first. Gathered it cleanly. Time and space on the left boot. His kick's chopped off, though, by Isaac Smith, who got across and took a defensive mark. Cats have it inside defensive 50.
And Smith on that left boot, a raking ball beyond defensive 50. Stanley comes across and takes the uncontested mark on the western wing. Call to play on now. His kick not so flash. The bounce there for Cameron. Right out of it though that time by Walker. It'll come loose for Cameron again. He's 45 out. Pops it in the pocket for Hawkins. Driving low to his left. He takes a simple chest mark. 30 metres out on an angle tougher than 45 degrees left-hand side.
I just do that so well, Geelong. They've done it so well for so many years. It's just that little short 15-20 metre lead up. It's virtually impossible to stop, especially when you're someone the size of Tommy Hawkins, who's quick, who's big, and gets out in front. You can't stop that.
It helps when your defender anticipates that the ball's going to get kicked back to the goal square and they let you lead forward, Joe.
Yeah, 3 goals, 2 last week for Tom Hawkins, and a very memorable flop as well, as this time he splits the middle. Nice set shot from Tom Hawkins to the Church Street end, and the Cats make it back-to-back goals to extend their lead to 23. They're 5-7-37. North Melbourne 2-2-14. We've played 6 minutes in the second quarter on ABC Sport. This is Grandstand AFL.
Jay, how many goals would you have kicked if every time you let out, your fullback thought, no, they're not going to kick it to him, they're going to kick it to the goal square, and stayed back in the goal square?
Yeah, probably a few more than I did, mate.
You'd just love that, wouldn't you?
You would.
So Geelong with a mini break.
Yeah, they just, fullbacks tend to do that a little bit too often these days. They err with, they're going to kick it over the top, I'll stay back, I'll be able to intercept it, rather than actually running and being right up the backside of their leading forward.
Yeah, and I think sometimes they get a little bit too scared of someone of Tommy Sorkin's size and strength, that if I go and try and cut off his angle, he's just going to push me under the ball as well. That's why Tommy's so dangerous. He can do both.
Holmes for Geelong was ripped off his kick in the middle of the ground. Sherry went after it. He was wrapped up, and we'll have another ball up in the middle of Bellerive. Geelong 5-7-37. North Melbourne 2-2-14. Up it goes. Stanley won it down only as far as Simpkin for North Melbourne. Left foot ball. Left half forward now. First gamer Curtis fights with it with Tui, and he gets a free kick. Does the debutant. Described as an X-factor forward, Paul Curtis. He's got it 65 metres from goal.
He got the length.
He sort of semi-fancies himself right in front of the hill. Whatever happens here, the patrons in that part of the ground will certainly let him know, good or bad. So Curtis lining up for the set shot. He'll kick from just outside 50. Good looking left foot ball all the way to the goal line. It might be over. Well, there's an appeal for touched on the line. Looks like we might have a score review.
I think North Melbourne was saying no one touched it, but then they've gone and set up their zone defence.
So a score review here is the official call. We're going upstairs. Paul Curtis went all the way to the line. It looks to be a Mark Blitzar's palm on the way through, perhaps.
You don't want a goal review for your first goal, do you?
It sort of does take the romance out of it just a touch.
I don't think it'll matter.
There's a Tom Stewart fist there as well. I think it might have clipped a couple of fingernails on the way past. Sadly for Paul Curtis, and it has been officially deemed a behind. So minor score at North Melbourne. Geelong lead 5-7-37. North Melbourne 2-3-15.
So margin 22. And Zach Tui shields his eyes from the sun, plays on in the right back pocket. Just thumps it beyond offensive 50 in front of the Eastern Hill. Myers in the hole waiting for it. Stengel keeps running as well, parries it to advantage. Keeps it alive now, just inside the boundary line. Goes up inside 50. Hawkins in the contest with Mackay. Second bite, pulls it in. He has paid the mark. He thought about playing on. And you'll hear the chagrin there of the North fans just saying, well, he was off. But he'll go back and take a set shot here from 45 out, perhaps just on 50 in the right forward pocket.
See how Mackay then, Herky, he tried to cut him off on the inside, but then second-guessed himself when the ball was in the air, and Tommy just ended up having a pretty clean grab at it.
He's got to trust himself.
Yeah, he does.
The footy.
Got to back himself and just go for it.
His 307th game, Tom Hawkins. He's outright fourth on Geelong's all-time games list. This is a high ball across the face of goal, and the mark has been taken by Walker. They'll play on here at North Melbourne. So no change to our score. It's the Cats by 22. A tumbling mark taken by Larkey at right half back.
Right in front of our commentary position. Larkey will send the ball high and long down the line. Pack will form. Goldstein got to the front, brought it to the front. Duncan was at the front. He was tackled as he took possession, and umpire said he had ample time to get rid of it and didn't. It'll be a North Melbourne free kick going the way of Jai Simpkin, right on the centre wing logo. Plays on.
A lot of numbers inside 50.
5 metres, big fly in the attack for North Melbourne, but the fist from Blitzar spiked it out of bounds. We'll have a boundary throw in right forward pocket.
I think you've only got 3 Geelong players that are not inside 50 at the moment. They just get back so well and clog it up.
So Geelong with a handy lead here, 5-7-37 the Cats. North Melbourne 2-3-15. 15. North Melbourne attacking half. In it comes. Ground level now. Marnie waiting and lurking. Zerha on the bottom of the pack. It's all wrapped up. We'll have another ball up.
So the Cats by 22. Up it goes. Goldstein taps it down here. The advantage of Marnie. Off balance. It's a kick inside forward 50. It was a little too deep down there for Larkey. It's fed away here to Curtis Taylor. Wheels around. Centering ball. Dropped here by a couple of those Kangaroos flyers. Hand pass comes. Horn-Francis to Zerha through Marnie. Zerha's wrapped up here in a two-man tackle. The umpire says holding the ball. So the tackle is rewarded. Great work it was initially from Tui. Has it from fullback here for Geelong, who lead 5-7 to 2-3. Who played 12 minutes in this second term at Bellerive Oval on Grandstand AFL.
So out of side, Cam Guthrie. Right back pocket, kicks to the outer wing, and Stengel takes the mark. There's a free kick though, it'll go North Melbourne's way. Perez, he was worked underneath it in the contest. Back inside 50 go the Kangaroos. Who can take a mark? Big fist comes. Geelong will work it out by hand. It was Stewart to Higgins, now back to Tui. Short ball is good to Atkins. Still inside defensive 50 the Cats, but Atkins marks and he has some time to assess his options. He's got Holmes in space over the top, who marks just outside defensive 50. He goes into the middle of the ground where Isaac Smith awaits. Takes it on his chest and there's a free kick, a 50-metre penalty. Isaac Smith will be marched up the ground for an encroachment of the protected area, I think it might have been.
I didn't see any arms out.
No,
Put it that way.
No, that was ordinary. I think Isaac Smith actually pointed to Horn-Francis, who was side on when he marked it, came around the front. You're still allowed to come around the front and stand the mark.
So Isaac Smith now well and truly within range. He'll have a shot on goal from just inside 50. No real angle to speak of. Smith sends it on its way. He misses to the near side. Minor score Geelong, 5-8-38. North Melbourne, 2-3-15, 12 and a half gone. Second term for Grandstand AFL.
Worth noting there were no penalties given yesterday for umpire dissent, given all the topic during the week, and a questionable one on Friday night in Canberra. None given across the games yesterday. As it's off the pack here, rode by Horn-Francis. Quick work here from North Melbourne. Marnie shares it with Goldstein. Back to Horn-Francis. Last year's number one pick. Squeezed that kick inside 50. It was awkward down there for its intended target. Mopped up here by Zach Tui, and the Cats can propel off the half-back line. Strong grab taken by Higgins. Feeds off the hand pass. Blitzales running by. On the left, he goes up inside forward 50, 2-on-2. Cameron attempts the one-hander. At the drop, though, Walker mops up, shares it with Mackay. They can rebound off half-back here, the Kangaroos. It comes wide now for Marnie, and he marks just behind the wing right in front of us here at Bellerive Oval, where the Cats lead by 23 points to approach the halfway mark of this second term.
Marnie at right half-back for North Melbourne. Finds a target. Curtis all on his own. He takes the mark. 75 from goal, kicks inside 50 and coming out uncontested chest mark Curtis Taylor. He marks 49 metres out from goal directly in front, and he's half thinking about having a shot on goal too.
A little bit of a first time really the defence structure of the Cats has fallen over, and they've got three uncontested marks from one end of the ground to the other.
So Curtis Taylor lining up for North Melbourne's third of the game. He'll kick from right on 50, send it on its way all the way to the line. It fell just short. Mark unable to be taken by Larkey. Zeal at the fall of the ball, immediately tackled, taken to ground. Umpire lingers for a long time. Eventually the whistle comes. We'll have a ball up 25 metres out from North Melbourne's goal.
They've had twice the inside 50s this second quarter as well, North Melbourne, 10-5. As the umpire chucks it in the air. Out the back, Zerha bustles his way through. He goes to ground as well. The ball comes free. In fact, it's locked in again. The umpire will ball it up.
We've had twice the inside 50s, but it just doesn't feel that way.
No.
It just feels like it's hard work for them to get a score. And they're all having long shots. You need to try and get some easier scores.
Geelong by 23. Away from the stoppage. Smith runs out of room here. Support with Tui. In fact, he's going to see it over for a boundary throw-in. So it's still deep in attack for North Melbourne. It's they who trail by 23 points. 15 and a half played in the second term here at Bellerive Oval on ABC Sport. This is Grandstand AFL.
Right forward pocket for North Melbourne, searching for their third of the game. But Sars did the ruck work for Geelong. Marnie couldn't trap it. Up it came. Atkins handball over the top to Selwood, who got it to Duncan. Out to Close now in the long sleeves. He kicks up the line in the Stanley direction. He stood tall and was too strong for Aidan Core. He marked left half forward for Geelong. Cuts inboard now to Guthrie, who fed it to Selwood by hand. Off to Close, who pops one in the Cameron direction, but getting back in the hole was Perez, taking a courageous mark in defence for North Melbourne. 25 metres out from his defensive goal. He finds a target on the outer side in Mackay.
So the Kangaroos at left half back. Comes up the eastern wing. Strong leap up there from Larkey. Can't pull the footy down. There's whistle on play. Is there? No. Play on. Tui. Works it back here for Blitzarves. Guthrie, the chain now to Higgins. Comes wide for Myers. Comes wide further still. Up inside forward 50 through Stewart. Now Cameron. Mackay was coming late, but Cameron plucked it out of the air and takes it from the right forward pocket, no more than 20 out.
Joshy Walker just got caught a little bit in no man's land there. Had the front space, thought he was going to lead up, and he just put him over the top, and Mackay was too focused on Hawkins to be able to get there in time.
God forbid the drop punt. Cameron opens up here with that little side step, and with that, he does have his third goal of the afternoon. So Geelong continues to extend their lead. 29 points as it currently stands. The Cats 6-8-44. North Melbourne 2-3-15. 17 going second quarter on Grandstand AFL.
It's always the way, isn't it? The Kangaroos have been sort of peppering away, getting the ball inside 50, as you said, twice as many as what the Cats have got. But all of their shots have been coming from sort of even further than 48 metres out. And they've been falling short. The one that went through actually was still a long shot that bounced in the goal square and went through and then goes up the other end. And a relatively simple goal in the end that just a defender misjudges the ball, and easy goal to the opposition. It could be a cruel game, this one. You don't always get rewards for effort.
29 points the margin, biggest of the game so far. Geelong lead here at Bellerive, back in the middle. Sherry and Blitzarves do the ruck work for their respective teams. Davies Uniacke took it out of the ruck, but he was immediately claimed and it's been adjudged holding the ball. Joel Selwood, the tackler. Geelong free kick, middle of the ground, so Blitzarves will receive. He's on the edge of the square. He'll send the Cats long and deep inside 50 where a pack will form. Cameron over the back. Did he get a free kick? No. It'll go the way of North Melbourne. Walker will come up with the footy. He was held onto in the contest. He has it right on the last line of defence. Kick beyond defensive 50 for North Melbourne. De Koning got in front, couldn't bring it down. It spilt to Atkins, who popped it inside 50 to the leading Cameron, who marks once more. And Jeremy Cameron starting to get off the chain now. He's kicked 3 already this afternoon. He'll line up for a 4th from 45 metres out slide angle.
I think young Stengel thought that was for him at that time. He was a bit dirty when Jezza came running past and took that one.
So Cameron steps inside the paint of 50, leans back on the kick. Umpire works behind the post because it hit the post. A minor score for Geelong. They go to 6-9-45. They lead by 30 points. North Melbourne 2-3-15.
He's kicked 3 goals and had 2 that have hit the post.
From the kick out, Aidan Core, the ex-Giant. Speaking of Jeremy Cameron, also a former GWS player. They go back inside 50 through Atkins. On the bounce, there it is for Stengel. Hand pass wide for Cameron from the pocket, running, and goals. Nursed it through absolutely superbly, and there were no hard feelings, Berkey, from Tyson Stengel, who was beaten at the footy by his teammate a short time ago. He just farmed the hand pass out wide for Jeremy Cameron, who with that has goal number 4. The Cats are out to a 36-point break. 7-9-51, North Melbourne 2-3-15. Approaching time on second term. Our experts are Nathan Burke and Jay Schultz.
That's why it's just so tough to man up their forward line, Cats, with those 2 big guys there. I mean, Jez is so quick, as is Tommy Hawkins, and Jez can turn on a dime, and Tommy's that strong. It makes it impossible almost unless you've got 2 genuine, really, and you have the pressure from up the ground. If you don't have the pressure from the up the ground, the ball coming in, you're in all sorts as a backman.
And Close and Stengel have just really added some real zip and pressure around that forward line too for young players. They're just what they needed.
Out to 6 goals the difference now, the Cats, and alarm bells starting to sound for North Melbourne. Goldstein Well, his handball was picked off in the middle of the ground. It fell out to Guthrie for Geelong. His kick inside 50 was misguided. Mackay took a defensive mark on hands and knees. He'll kick laterally to Young for North Melbourne. He's at right half back. He'll go short again to Marnie, who marks on his chest in front of Holmes. He'll go back inside defensive 50. Here's Bailey Scott. Laterally go North Melbourne. His kick wasn't precise, but enough time and space for the Roos to just work things out. Back to Walker. They haven't made any ground here, and eventually the Walker kick, well, he almost turned it over. Fortune for Marnie, who fed the handball to Taran Thomas, who got it to McDonald. Left foot ball towards half forward from McDonald to Larkey, who couldn't get down low enough to take the mark. McDonald forced to butter up. He couldn't force the turnover. Contested ball at half forward for North Melbourne. Handball from Larkey over the top to Simpkin. Inside 50. Curtis waits all alone. And the debutant will have a second shot on goal. And perhaps will have more luck this time as he lines up from 45 metres out. No real angle to speak of.
Even that just felt like it should have been a lot easier, and they missed that one little kick, that little lead up, and all of a sudden they're going to have an extra 2 or 3 disposals to get that mark inside 50.
So Curtis on debut. His team needs him to step up. He steps inside 50, left foot ball is sliding across the face for a minor score. North Melbourne go to 2-4-16. They trail Geelong 7-9-51. 22 minutes gone. Second term, Grandstand AFL.
So what is he, 0-3 on debut, Paul Curtis. The Cats bring it back inboard now for Atkins. Still inside defensive 50 at right half back.
You look glass half full, and he's had 3 shots a goal in the first half.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good effort.
Zach Tui. That's why you're a good coach, Berkey. Comes wide to the left half back, and Connor can bring them out wide now for Stanley, just forward of the wing. The Cats are one good kick away. Pops it up inside 50. This time Walker gets up. McKay, in fact, gets in front. Comes back to Paul Curtis. Fires it a hand pass to Goldstein. Can they propel here, the Kangaroos? Curtis goes a hand pass back inboard here for Zerha. Simpkin is unmarked. Runs straight into and straight over in the end. De Koning comes loose now. It's mopped up off half back for Max Holmes. And they are out here with Duncan on the bounce on the outer logo. Now closed. No one's with him. 60 out from goal. Goes into the pocket. He can find Stengel. Stengel marks in front of that small grandstand in the right forward pocket. And he's 35 metres out.
And this all came from just a lazy handball by Zerha. There was 3 or 4 handballs in a row. If he hits his target, I think it was Simpkin, then the ball's inside North Melbourne's forward line. Just a lazy one, hits the ground, and now it's a shot for goal at the other end.
Kicked 3 goals, 1 last week, Tyson Stengel, against the Hawks on Easter Monday.
It's going to Nana.
It's a smart option. He does here from 35, out and misses to the near side from where he kicks. So minor score to the Cats again. 7-10-52. North Melbourne 2-4-16. The margin 36 points Geelong's way. And we're now 24 minutes played in the second quarter.
Young with the kicking duties. Gains 10 metres and sends North Melbourne outside defensive 50, but he kicked to a 3-on-1. Zerha had 3 Cats to contend with. He eventually forced it out of bounds for a boundary throw in right in front of the commentary position.
Just quickly, Neil from Coburg, our mate on the SMS, says, forget my hunch that North Melbourne would be in it. A-grade flogging. Oh well, next week, question mark, 0437 774 774.
Boundary throw in. Right half back for the Roos. Stanley got to the front of the contest, just double-fisted it towards the boundary line. Parfitt was first there. His handball was picked off by Taylor for North Melbourne. He fed it inside to Davies Uniacke, who put Hugh Greenwood under all sorts of pressure. Sean Higgins right on his hammer, rides him into the Bellerive turf. We'll have another ball up. Right in front of the commentary position. We're still at right half back for North Melbourne. Over the top, Stanley with the fist. It came to Simpkin, who might have been taken just a touch high. In fact, it was as they enjoy some afters after that one. The North Melbourne faithful don't take too kindly to that. Now, it's going to be 50.
Duncan on Curtis Taylor.
As Geelong just remonstrated a little too hard for the umpire's liking. Curtis Taylor went flying, and he'll be marched 50 metres up the ground. He's going to get things moving immediately and send North Melbourne inside 50. Larkey at the back couldn't get access to the footy. It came out to Stanley. Handball over the top to Tui. He shares it with De Koning. Clearing ball now by Buse. Wonderful mark taken in front by Duncan. Defensive side of the wing. He goes inboard to Isaac Smith, who plays on with a rocket handball to Joel Selwood. Middle of Bellerive. Short ball's good to Guthrie. They're just picking North Melbourne apart here. Guthrie analyses things inside forward 50, but getting across and taking a good defensive mark was Mackay. Shares it with Taylor, and North Melbourne are away.
Well, the 2-on-1 though, the Cats have numbers. Buse works a hand pass forward. Selwood now off to Smith, just forward of halfway. Tumbles that left boot inside forward 50. Almost an unkind bounce to Mackay. Shares it now with McDonald by hand, and he can just rebound the footy off half back. They'll slow things down for a second with Zurha. The East Fremantle lad comes on the 45 now for Goldstein, who spills a mark he would have taken 1,000 times in his career previously, and it's out of bounds for a throw-in. I don't want to exaggerate, but, 36 points Geelong's way here. 26 and a half gone second term. Throw it back in, western side in front of the Ricky Ponting stand. The Rucks go at it. Sherry and Stanley. Just trying to swoop through here is Curtis Taylor for North Melbourne. Beaten to it by Selwood. Shares it now. It comes wide to Stengel. Little turn here for a couple of steps. It's a little too wide of Duncan. We'll throw it back in at left half forward now for the Cats. It's they are in control of things. 36 points that margin as we get closer to half time.
Zach Tui up to 20 disposals across that half-back line.
Taron Thomas just the 3 disposals. Haven't seen much of him this afternoon upon return from the internal bruising injury as Davies Uniacke takes on 2 Geelong tacklers. He's pinged for holding the ball. Guthrie, the second tackler, will be rewarded. He shares it with the first tackler in Parfitt. He had Curtis Taylor for company, but was just too classy for him. Eluded the opponent and put a 25-metre ball onto the chest of Tom Hawkins, who will kick for goal for Geelong. His second potentially of the afternoon, 45 metres out. Slight angle to extend this lead. So Tom Hawkins, steady, deliberate, purposeful approach, steps inside 50, lets it fly, the Cats superstar, and he misses to the near side. Minus score Geelong. 7-11-53, plays 2-4-16 deep into the first half. Grandstand AFL.
11 first half behinds for the Cats. It could be far, far worse on the scoreboard by way of that margin. Now 37.
And 3 of them have hit the post.
Well, they come beyond offensive 50. Goldstein out in front. Free kick here going North's way for over the shoulder. So Curtis Taylor fires at the hand pass. Davies Uniacke was awkwardly positioned. His handball is picked off here by Close. They go in hard now. Dempsey shares it back to De Koning. Look very similar. On the 50-metre line, it's going to be a free kick going North Melbourne's way for a hold. And this time it's just down there with Curtis Taylor. He's come out wide. Beg your pardon, Lockie Young. He's come wide now for McDonald. At right half back.
North Melbourne's first option is always out wide to the boundary line, Very rarely do they take a risk and switch the ball or bring it back through the corridor.
Donald's kick up the line. Goldstein can't control it. Sherry there as well, his fellow big. Goldstein goes in again. Again, the footy can't quite come loose. They try to clear it away here. Stewart overruns the football. Thomas goes in hard for North Melbourne. Spun the tackle, gets it back to Goldstein. Off his left boot, up inside forward 50, bouncing into the pocket. Outnumbered down there is Paul Curtis, and he wins the free kick. Kolodjasny took him high. He plays on now, goes closer to home. Simpkin beaten through the air that time by Atkins. And the Cats are away here through Stengel.
Right back pocket Stengel. He'll cut back across goal where Tui awaits, takes the mark. He hits Kolodjasny, but the siren sounds. And it was all Geelong in the second term. 7-11-53. The Cats, they lead North Melbourne 2-4-16 after one half of footy here at Bellerive. The goal kickers, Jeremy Cameron has 4 for Geelong. Tom Hawkins, Cam Guthrie and Brad Close have 1 apiece. And just the 2 goal scorers for North Melbourne, Luke McDonald, who kicked the first goal of that second term, and Hugh Greenwood, the other goal kicker for North Melbourne.
I might just bring in Nicole Bresnahan quickly on the boundary. Nicole, what are conditions like down there? And by the way, keep an eye on Cameron Zerha, who we understand is receiving treatment. Of course, it's half-time now, so we'll see what happens during the break. But a bit more shady, a bit cooler down there?
Yeah, starting to get a little bit cooler on boundary side. Zerha just coming onto the ground there, looking a little bit ginger as he comes back to the rest of the group. But yeah, still a slight breeze picking up, but otherwise all pretty good down here. Okay,
back to you in the second half here. So that second quarter ran just shy of half an hour as you heard there from Chris Rowbottom. 37 points is Geelong's lead, 7-11-53 to North Melbourne 2-4-16. A couple of your texts, 0437 774 774. Adam of the Alberton crowd, glad to hear the General of the Schultze Army's enjoying life in Tassie. Are you playing Ammos there? Could you ever come as Port Adelaide's kicking coach? Asks Adam.
Yeah, I get asked that a little bit at the moment. My playing days are done officially. The body would still like to go, but head's probably had a few too many knocks over the years. So I'm involved in the amateurs down in Lonnie with old Launcestonians. So bit of fun down there. I'm actually the runner, so that's a new experience for me.
All right, yeah, well, it's nice to have you here in the grandstand AFL commentary boxes. Yourself and Nathan Burke help us make sense of the opening half.
Yeah, look, I think it's. I don't think it's a lack of effort from the Kangas at all. It's they don't have the polish at the moment. And I'll go back to what you said before, Berkey, about their first option is always, to come out wide to the boundary. Do you reckon that's because they don't have the guys that are lining up in the middle of the ground, or do you reckon that's a confidence thing and them not wanting to take that risk at the moment?
I think it's a little bit of, I'm not even going to bother pushing into the middle because we just go bang straight out there anyway.
Yeah,
and
right.
Sort of, why would I bother running and creating something when you guys don't even look?
Yeah.
And it become a bit endemic like that through the team.
Yeah, and so therefore, if they're not coming inside, they're not opening up the other side of the ground at all. And Geelong can just know that they can cover them off in one half of the ground, put a line down the middle, and they know that they're not going to cross that. So that makes it really hard for them to then get the ball, move it down, and then get the longer ball inside 50, which they can get marks and get shot on. So, like, Geelong are scoring at 61% every time they go inside 50, and the Kangas are only scoring at 45%, and that's because they're having long shots of goal, and any time they try and kick the long ball in, it's a slow long ball in, and it gets cut off and comes back out.
Yeah, you're right. Look, 33-20 inside 50s. They've had 62 more possessions, so North sort of held their own a little bit better that quarter. But Geelong have had 50 more uncontested possessions. And I think if I'm David Noble looking at North Melbourne, okay, how do we get ourselves back into this game? We need to up the defensive side of the game. We cannot have 100 less uncontested possessions than Geelong. Otherwise, Cameron and Hawkins and the guys are just going to have a field day. The ball's going to be hitting them on the chest all day. So let's tighten up around the middle. Less zone, more of a one-on-one type defence, and let's see what that brings.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just some leading disposal winners on the ground for both teams. For Geelong, Zach Tui up to 21 in the first half. Cam Guthrie has 17, Selwood and Smith with 15 apiece, and for North Melbourne, Davies Uniacke leading the way with 14, along with McDonald, who also has 14, Simpkin and Young with 11 apiece. They're the major ball winners so far this afternoon.
So the Cats by 37 points here at the half. It was 17 points the quarter-time margin. Some names missing from both sides, Berkey. No Dangerfield, no Henry for the Cats. They were later changes made since the teams or the squads dropped on Thursday, but I mean, they've got players stepping up, aren't they, right across the park, and are making pretty light work of North Melbourne.
Yeah, they are. And look, Dangerfield's probably not needed today, to be totally honest. Davies Uniacke is really the only sort of North Melbourne midfielder that's having any influence on the game. He's had 14 possessions. He's trying really, really hard in the middle, but just doing it all by himself. Their next best possession winner is McDonald, who's not in the middle. Simpkins had 11, got better as that quarter went on, but he's pretty much playing a lone hand against the likes of Guthrie and Selwood and all the Geelong midfield that are having a pretty good game.
Just by the way, while I'm playing radio program guide, if you're listening through WA today from 3:30 Western Standard Time, you'll get the NBL, Perth Wildcats and Southeast Melbourne Phoenix. Of course, that will determine whether the Perth Wildcats continue their 35, potentially 36-year final streak. Ben Cameron, Alan Black on the call there. Of course, that's rather consequential on what happens here, Chris Raybottom, for the Tasmania Jack Jumpers, because if the Cats don't win that, the Jack Jumpers in their very first year in the NBL will be in the playoffs, which is huge.
I tell you what, there'll be a fair few of this 10,500 crowd that'll switch immediately from footy mode into NBL mode at the conclusion of this game, cheering on the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix with plenty of gusto, because it's a pretty big story down here, Spriggy. The Jack Jumpers potentially knocking on the door of the playoffs in their first ever year, but fingers crossed that Southeast Melbourne can do a job for the Tasmanians.
Up the Jack Jumpers, mate. Come on, I jumped on board straight away. They've done wonders, mate. It's hard to get a ticket down here.
You're a Tasmanian now, mate.
Yeah,
of course.
Yep.
Geelong by 37 points at the half. We'll have the second half very shortly, of course, coming up later on. Gold Coast v the Brisbane Lions at Carrara. Q Clash 22. We'll preview that at three-quarter time here, as well as, of course, Richmond v Melbourne later on at the MCG, which has become a new tradition, if you like, on Anzac Day weekend as far as how the AFL marks this significant Australian day. It's AFL Round 6, Sunday afternoon. Glorious conditions here in Hobart, where Geelong leads North Melbourne by 37 points at half-time. Right now it's time for us to head to the ABC newsroom.
Hello, this is ABC News with David Rowlands. Deputy Prime Minister Barnaby Joyce says he accepts assurances from Solomon Islands that China will not build a naval base in the region, but still holds concerns. The two countries have signed a controversial new security deal, prompting fears about a Chinese military presence in the Pacific. Earlier this week, Mr Joyce warned it could become a little Cuba, and says he's worried about China's plans to build a base.
They want to, there's no doubt about that, because we see what they did in the South China Sea, where they said they weren't going to militarise. And obviously for the Solomons, I take their word, but I say be really careful inviting a totalitarian power into your country, because it is going to affect your sovereignty.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky will meet with US Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Defence Secretary Lloyd Austin in the next 24 hours in Kyiv. Mr Zelensky's given little detail about the encounter, but says Ukraine is expecting specific things and specific weapons. It would be the first high-level US trip to the Ukrainian capital since the Russian invasion began on February 24. Mr Blinken stepped briefly onto Ukraine soil last month during a visit to Poland to meet with the country's foreign minister. Easter church services have been held for Orthodox Ukrainian and Catholic communities across New South Wales, with all praying for peace. Danuta Kazaki reports.
Australian Ukrainians and recent arrivals from the war-torn country gathered this morning, including in Lidcombe in Sydney's west, to pray for peace during Orthodox Easter. Andrew Bensinski from the Ukrainian Council of New South Wales says the fear is constant.
Displaced Ukrainians here who've left Kyiv only 3 days ago have family still back in Ukraine who are at risk of death every day.
Sophia fled from Kyiv only days ago.
I hope that I will meet with my family very soon.
Around 2,500 displaced Ukrainians have arrived in Australia so far.
A large march through the streets of Sydney calling for recognition of the Armenian genocide is expected to close major streets in the CBD this afternoon. Armenian, Assyrian and Greek Australians are expected to take part, calling for Prime Minister Scott Morrison to officially recognise the events of 1915. Police say the demonstration is expected to block roads between St Mary's Cathedral and Sydney's Town Hall. The Victorian Premier Daniel Andrews says adding mandatory solar industry safety training to the list of free TAFE courses will remove a barrier for people considering entering that sector. The two-day short course would normally cost $1,600, but will be made free from the middle of this year. Mr Andrews says it will increase the number of people working in the industry and in the rollout of his government's rooftop solar program.
This is an incredibly important program, just as free TAFE is, and the more courses we can add to free TAFE, the better. So that's $1,650 that'll be in an apprentice's pocket or in an electrician's pocket that won't have to be paid to TAFE.
3 more people have died with COVID-19 in Western Australia, while the state has recorded 6,085 new cases. Case numbers have steadily declined since Thursday, when there were more than 9,000 infections. 239 people are in hospital with the virus, including 8 in intensive care. Of the 3 deaths, the Department of Health says 2 were historical and reported yesterday. One of Premier Mark McGowan's children was yesterday discharged from hospital after being admitted 4 days earlier with the virus. Mr McGowan remains in isolation after also contracting the disease. The South Australian Metropolitan Fire Service says the cause of a hotel fire at North Adelaide, which authorities earlier believed was suspicious, has now been deemed accidental. Emergency services were called to a room on the second floor of the Adelaide Meridian Hotel on Melbourne Street just after 6:30 this morning. 7 people are in hospital, including one person who sustained critical injuries in the blaze. Superintendent Matt Nairn says almost 100 rooms were occupied when the fire broke out.
There's always the likelihood that you end up with a lot more injury or death with a fire of even that scale where there's multi-occupancy. So very, very pleased that people did the right thing, and thankfully we haven't seen too much panic on the street this morning.
And France will go to the polls today to determine who will lead the country for the next 5 years. Opinion polls suggest Emmanuel Macron is the favourite to win against his far-right challenger Marine Le Pen in the second and final round of the presidential election. However, Mr Macron has warned that he needs a strong turnout if France is to avoid a shock result like Brexit in Britain and Donald Trump's victory in the US. This is ABC News.
The election. It's easy to get lost amongst the polls, policies and pledges. If only there was a way you could make more sense of it. Bridget Brennan from ABC News has an election hack, a way to find out how your views compare to the major parties.
Go online to Vote Compass, answer a few quick questions. You may be surprised where you stand on the political spectrum.
Vote Compass, exclusive to the ABC.
Go to abc.net.au/Australia Votes.
The 2022 AFL Premiership season.
Grandstand AFL on ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
The Kangaroos win the first clearance. Simpkin puts them inside forward 50. At the feet here of Goldstein, he gathers, shares it with McDonald, tumbles a high ball toward the goal square. It's going to bounce through. Away they go. The Cats up inside forward 50. Cameron gets some separation here on the defender. Now he snaps from close range in the right forward pocket. And that was a regrettable scenario for Josh Walker, who was left in Jeremy Cameron's wake. And Cameron now has his second. Higgins comes wide for Myers, comes wide further still. Up inside forward 50 through Stewart. Now Cameron! Mackay was coming late, but Cameron plucked it out of the air and takes it in the right forward pocket, no more than 20 out. Cameron opens up here with that little side step, and with that, he does have his third goal of the afternoon. We go back inside 50 through Atkins. On the bounce, there it is for Stengel. Hand pass wide for Cameron from the pocket, running, and goals! Nursed it through absolutely superbly.
This is the 2022 AFL Premiership season.
On ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
The sounds of the second quarter here at beautiful Bellerive. You're with Brett Sprigg, Chris Rowbottom, Nathan Burke, Jay Schultz and Nicole Bresnahan on the boundary. Geelong leads by 37 points at the half, 7-11-53 to 2-4-16. It's, let's say, a glorious day. The hill is packed, the grandstands too, the Oz kickers going on in front of us, and the teams will be out there shortly for the second half of footy. Of course, still to come later on. Gold Coast v Brisbane, Q Clash 22 at Carrara, followed by, of course, Richmond versus Melbourne at the MCG. We're back tomorrow as well at Launceston, York Park, where it's Hawthorn v Sydney, of course, and Essendon and Collingwood, the jewel in the crown of the AFL's Anzac Day weekend commemorations. Of course, Anzac Day itself is tomorrow. 0437 774 774. Nice little crispy here from Pete, who says, "G'day all. Isn't it great that regional Victoria will be hosting the Commonwealth Games in a few years? There's a couple of potential diving medalists down Geelong way." Whew, it's been around that traps a little bit, that conversation, especially with that Tom Hawkins look last week. That was straight into the meme hall of fame. Keep those texts coming. 0437 774 774. Nick in Inverloch says, "I had thought North's default position was to become the Hobart Roos. Now I think the Antarctic Penguins is more likely." Not a great first half for North Melbourne, and obviously sitting at 1-4 heading into today, 17th as it currently stands. certainly some pressure on David Noble's men. Around the grounds, other sports, looking at the NRL where it's round 7. Late first half, Parramatta leads the Newcastle Knights 6 points to 2. A-League men, second half, Wellington Phoenix 1, Western Sydney Wanderers 0. Coming up later on, Adelaide v Perth Glory. Super Netball, it's the second term there, and Collingwood 23 lead the Queensland Firebirds. In fact, the Firebirds have just scored their 23 apiece. Yeah, the Super Netball score around the grounds. As I mentioned just before the news, if you are listening throughout WA, you'll have a break from the footy for a moment to have live coverage of the National Basketball League, the final regular season round, and the Perth Wildcats will host the South East Melbourne Phoenix. If they win that, they will keep their finals streak alive, 36 consecutive playoff appearances potentially if they win. Otherwise, if they don't, it's good news for the locals here at Bellerive, because the Tasmania Jack Jumpers in their very first season will progress to the finals. Umpires back out there. Nathan Burke, Jay Schultz alongside us here on Grandstand AFL. Where is the main improvement here for North Melbourne? What do they have to do in the second half to fight their way back in?
Yeah, well, look, I think what Berkey pointed out just earlier, the uncontested possessions, and I think what he was saying is right. Well, if it's not working, playing the zone, and they're just picking their way through us, then maybe we have to send guys to play one-on-one and make them fight their own battle and see if that brings some change along.
And I also think that Greenwood only had the 5 possessions. He kicked the goal, but 5 touches is not enough for a midfielder. Horne-Francis just the 8. Simpkin had the 11. So they need a big lift from those 3. Otherwise, the Guthrie's and Selwood, they're just going to run away with this game. The other one is Larkey and De Koning. It's an interesting battle. Larkey just had the 3 possessions so far. Every time the ball's gone in the air, Larkey, all he does is watch the football, and he goes at the football, whereas De Koning plays as a defender and shifts him off the line, uses his hands, gets him out of the way. I'd love to see Larkey flip that around a bit and go, I'm not going to get pushed around by you. I'm actually going to hold you out. I'm going to push you out, and then I'm going to go at the ball. Not everything should be just going straight at the ball, because it's making it far too easy for the defender. So hopefully there's someone down there actually teaching him how to get rid of an opponent who's probably got the same physical qualities as what he's got, but he's actually playing as a defender. So Larkey, I want to see get into the game. Greenwood, Horne-Francis and Simpkin lift their rating to help Davies-Uniacke out.
Yeah, I think that the Larkey one's an interesting one. It's sort of the typical tall forward coming in who's used to playing in the younger competitions, just being able to run freely, jump freely at the ball.
Yep.
And then you come into this system, and I was like it as well. When you come into this system, all of a sudden you've got to realise you need to use your body to be able to, protect the space and get the ball other ways than just being able to run freely and jump at the ball, because you just don't get the chance to do it in this game.
Yeah, you see Tom Hawkins, he actually initiates contact with his defender and holds the drop zone space and pushes them out of the way and then goes at the ball. Larkey hasn't learnt that yet.
No.
Taron Thomas, an interesting one too, just the 4 disposals from him, and it seems to me that they're not too sure in terms of how they want to use him. He's had some centre bounce hits, and he's also sort of parked himself up forward. He might be still battling from that internal bruising that he suffered a couple of weeks ago, but do you play him and persist with him in the midfield to try and create something going forward, or do you put him forward because you've only kicked 2 goals for a half?
He looks a little bit wary to me. A couple of times he's sort of gone back and stuck the one arm up, and obviously it was a significant internal bruising, so he's probably going to be a little bit wary. If he's okay, if he's 100% fit, I'd throw him in the middle and just prove that, hey mate, here's a couple of big bangs and you're okay. There's nothing wrong, and then get going. But if he's kept on the outer, it's hard to get that bang.
Yeah, it's funny that sometimes it takes a good hit for you to realise, I'm actually okay now. Like, you can do it all at training and they can hit you with a bag and stuff, but until you actually cop a whack from an opposition, you just don't realise it yourself. I'm actually good to go here. Let's get stuck in.
We called that game, Berkey, where he suffered that injury, and I guess we're not privy to what happens behind the scenes with the medical sort of analysis and everything else, but the way it happened was so dramatic, and with those injuries, they get the ambulance because you can never be too sure with those internal injuries. But are you surprised he's come back as early as he has?
Not really. I think the medicos these days, they're far more conservative than what they used to be. The old days probably would have rolled him when there was nothing actually wrong, it was just bruising, and he'd probably roll you out the week after. But these days, no, the medicos are very conservative.
Geelong by 37 points here at Bellerive. The sun is shining. It's a glorious afternoon. But North are a long way behind in this game. Here's Chris Rowbottom on Grandstand AFL.
Like you wish, Berkey. Taron Thomas straight into the middle as Stanley wins it down for Geelong. Straight to Parfitt. He's wrapped up by Davies-Uniacke. Thomas went after it, but there's been a whistle. It'll come back to Davies-Uniacke. It might have been a throw out of the congestion from Parfitt. Davies-Uniacke will send North Melbourne forward for the first time in the second half, but getting back, taking a good, strong defensive mark was De Koning for Geelong.
Pushed him out of the way again.
Comes wide here to the flank. Selwood in the contest with McDonald. Wraps him up now over the boundary line for a throw-in, or throw it back in that part of the ground. Right half forward for the Kangaroos. Nessa points out off the SMS that the need for a high percentage for the Cats. And kicking so many behinds instead of goals is potentially going to cost them. 37 points. No change to our half-time score.
Boundary throw-in, out of side, right half forward for North Melbourne. Stanley just bullied Goldstein out of the ruck. In fact, he was pushed off the footy, and Goldstein will receive a free kick for North Melbourne. So doing the early attacking here in the second half, the Roos, they need the first goal. Short ball onto the bootlaces of McDonald. He got it up to a teammate in Young, who sent the Roos inside 50. Massive fly from Zurhar. He couldn't reel it in. Atkins burrowed in, gathered the footy and was tackled immediately. We'll have a ball up 20 metres out from North Melbourne's goal. Early stages of the third term.
I just can't get those marks inside 50 like Geelong can. Geelong have had 9 and the Roos have only had a couple.
Abuse taken out of the contest. The umpire spotted the free kick for a high tackle. It will go North Melbourne's way, and Zurhar, so he's okay. He was receiving treatment late in that second term, but he's starting on the ground in the second half, and he'll have a set shot here from 30 out on a 45-degree angle. The other point that Nessa makes is whether the Cats are unfamiliar with the venue. They actually won here back in round 20 of last year by 20 points. They kicked 8 goals, 14 that day. That was the last time these sides met. 20-point win of the Cats. Cameron Zurhar on the approach for the ideal start in the second half for North Melbourne. He can close the gap to now 31 points. It's their third goal of the afternoon. 3-4-22 North Melbourne. Geelong 7-11-53. We've just played the 2.5 minutes in the third term here on ABC Sport. You're with Grandstand AFL.
Well, they needed that one, Jay. It was a good goal in the end. I wasn't quite sure what the free kick was for. It was on the opposite pocket to where we're actually sitting, but they need to make the most of all opportunities that they're given, and now I gave them an opportunity, and Zurhar went back and put it through. In terms of the 7-11 for the Cats and not being familiar with the ground, you won't get a better outside day for the rest of the season than this one. There's no wind affecting anything. The only time to get better than this is if you're playing at the Docklands.
Magical conditions at Bellerive, where North Melbourne strike first in the third term, just as they did in the second. Back in the middle, Stanley won it down. Goldstein parried it. Thomas, the hands and knees, won the footy and won the handball. Out to Goldstein. Left football inside 50 for North Melbourne. Zeeble might have been held. Larkey got to the back, gathered it cleanly. Spin move on Blitzarves. He was eventually tackled and he threw it out. Did Larkey. It'll be a Geelong free kick. Blitzarve wrapped him up. He'll have a free kick for Geelong in the right back pocket. Blitzarves will send the Cats beyond defensive 50, up the line over the head of Goldstein. Brian Myers at the back, won the handball through traffic. Selwood now across the ground. McDonald had to be strong against Holmes, and he was. Took the mark, falling away, and he gets things moving immediately. Simpkin now, middle of Bellerive. Points to the man on the mark. Inside 50 go the Roos. Kick was misdirected in the Zurhar direction. He gave the free kick away coming through, and it'll be a Geelong ball inside defensive 50.
I'd love to know how close Max Holmes was when he ran past the North Melbourne play with the ball there, because it didn't look that far. It could have been 50 metres.
Atkins shares it with De Koning, and now wide again for Stanley. Stanley in the right back pocket. Geelong by 31. He kicks up the line now. 3-on-2. Goldstein at the back. It's out to drops to the Parfitt. Hand pass off to Close. Myers kept running as well. He's 65 from goal. Pops it inside the arc now. Skids it now a little wide for Hawkins. Gathered by Lockie Young in defence for North. Goes the fend. Drops the footy here, confronted by Myers. They'll be holding the ball. You attempt to fend, and the footy comes loose. Well, see you later. So Brian Myers, despite not doing much at all, Just copying that fend from Lockie Young. He'll have the footy 35 out in a 45-degree angle.
Didn't notice him much in the first half. I'm just checking up his possessions now, but certainly not a great first half from him.
Just the 6 touches so far. He came back into the side in round 4. He lets fly here to the river end. Tries to account for a slight breeze. It's staying to the right-hand side for a behind. They're 12th of the day, Geelong. They're 7-12-54. North at 3-4-22. 6 going third term.
Core brings it in, finds Walker. Still inside defensive 50, the Roos. He plays on by hand as Walker to Davies Uniacke. He's wrapped up. Geelong ball. Stengel comes up with it. Wanted Hawkins running back towards goal. He gathers on the bounce and slams it home. Cats have their first of the third term, and Hawkins kicks his second of the afternoon. Geelong 8-12-60. North Melbourne 3-4-22. The Cats out to a 38-point advantage. Early stages of the third term for Grandstand AFL.
Well, you don't want to hand them easy goals, but that's pretty much what happened then. The North Melbourne player ran past for the handball. He just ran himself into complete and utter trouble and was tackled and overlap handballs. Hawkins running into open goal. But sometimes you've just got to say, you know what, I shouldn't get this possession. Don't give it to me. I'm going to run past and create, but don't give me the ball. And there's getting a little bit... What can happen when you're this far down, you're 38 points down, is you'll say, you know what, I need to get possessions because that'll get me a game next week. And that's when you start running past getting the handballs when you shouldn't.
Third quarter is 7 minutes old as Goldstein just taps it down here, and it's going to come back as it was a wayward bounce. Brett Spree, Chris Robottom, Jay Schultz, Nathan Burke here on Grandstand AFL. Now a call for a block. It'll go Geelong's way. Stanley plays on around Goldstein. Goes searching inside forward 50. It's going to drop right there for Walker, who's paid the chest mark. In the left back pocket. Comes wider still now for Davies Uniacke. He's at left half back. He kicks up the line, wasting no time. It's Stewart floats across and intercepts on true centre wing commentary side for the Cats.
So Tom Stewart marks, back of a wing. Broadcast side, short kick to Duncan. He's on the logo. He'll get things moving and kick wide in the Hawkins direction, who marks cleanly. He's 70 out from goal. He'll pop one inside 50 to Myers, who marks. Tight angle just inside the boundary line, 45 metres out. It'll be a tough shot if he elects to have his shot on goal. In fact, he's being brought round. The angle will be tight. So Myers...
He runs out to the right, so
he just pops it towards goal. It misses near side. It never really looked like it from Ryan Myers. A minor score to the Cats, who go to 8-13-61. 39 points to the good. North Melbourne 3-4-22.
Lockie Young, the former dog, on kick-out duties. It was a dicey one here. One away here for the Cats. Fed out from Holmes. Back to Dempsey, who snaps and dribbles it through. Ollie Dempsey, and they come from absolutely everywhere. Nice interception by Holmes. It was a horrendous kick from Lockie Young. But Dempsey got the snap. There was no one back on the goal line. And it is through for his first goal in AFL footy. Geelong now at 9-13-67. North Melbourne 3-4-22. It's getting ugly here. Margin 45. 9 gone third term.
Did you say, Berkey, you don't want to give them easy ones? Right. So, a couple of easy ones right there. And you don't know if their instruction as well is to just try and play quick and try and make something up, because that can also cause issues as well. And you just can't miss those sort of short kick-ins as well. They just hurt you every time, especially Geelong.
Every Geelong player on the ground got straight to him. Sam de Koning ran from full back, sprinted to get around Ollie Dempsey in his first goal in AFL footy. Wonderful to see. And there's some mates in the crowd too, with the body paint on, which is good to see also. Back in the middle now, as Sherry fights hard. He's all wrapped up. We'll have another ball up.
I saw that. It was a bunch of young lads at Salamanca with I Love Dempsey written across their bodies.
Yeah, they're braving. They're lucky it's good conditions here in Hobart, as Stanley wins it out of the middle, sends Geelong forward, and here's Hawkins marking 40 out from goal, directly in front.
And that's that one we were talking about, Jay, where Hawkins actually engaged his big, strong defender, pushed him off, and then went for the ball. If Larkey was in that position, he's probably going straight at the ball.
Yeah, and those two boys are probably similar in strength as well, but the fact that Tommy engages early, he gives himself that little bit of extra room by engaging early and then projects the ball space.
So to extend it to 51 points, Tom Hawkins, distance won't be a worry. He'll kick from inside 50, sends it on its way. It was a beautiful looking kick. And Tom Hawkins kicks his third of the afternoon. And it is getting ugly here at Bellerive. 10-13-73 Geelong, 3-4-22 North Melbourne. The Cats now lead by 51 points. 10.5 gone, third term for Grandstand AFL.
They're kicking them straight now, and whereas they weren't the last couple of quarters, so it's it can get ugly pretty quick.
Yeah, it doesn't get much easier than that. Just a contested ball in the middle, throw it on the boot, goes to around about 48 metres out. Your big key forward takes a mark, goes back, puts it through. Footy it can be simple sometimes.
It's not rocket science, mate, is it?
You tend to overcomplicate it a bit. Just get the ball in the middle, get it straight down the middle, take a mark and
kick a goal.
So Hawkins 3 goals, 1 so far to Savo. 3 goals, 2 last week on Easter Monday. The restart. Sherry gets first hands to it now. It's picked off though by Joel Selwood, wrapped up by Thomas. The kick will jar free. Close tries to knock it to advantage. Hand pass comes from Holmes down to Dempsey, who's run down from behind. He copped a push in the back. And that's a Geelong free kick. So Dempsey from centre half forward assesses the options, decides to go searching inside forward 50 in the pocket, where he only finds the chest down there of Ben Mackay at right full back for North Melbourne.
So Mackay clears defensive 50 with the kick, but only as far as probably the one man on the ground you need to avoid, and it's Tom Stewart who marks and puts the Cats back inside 50, but Kane Turner got back, put his head in the hole and took a really courageous mark in defence for North Melbourne. His short pass is a good one to Luke McDonald. Still inside defensive 50 though, the Roos. He'll poke a pass now to Scott, who goes to Core. He plays on by hand back to Scott. His handball missed the mark, but it eventually found its way to McDonald, who released Horn Francis through the middle of the ground. He's got a runner now at left half forward. Curtis Taylor for North Melbourne. Ball was a little low for his marking forward in Larkey. The handball missed Zeeble. Cats players converge. On the bottom of the pack was Kolajasny. Zeeble laid the tackle. Will have a ball up 35 metres out from goal for the Roos. Sherry and Blitzarves do the ruck work straight down to Buse. He's immediately wrapped up by Taylor. We'll have another stoppage.
And that's the difference there, that last inside 50. Geelong hit that little kick, and then Tommy Hawkins or whoever's having a shot on goal, whereas they drop wet and short, and all of a sudden they got to fight again to try and get a score.
Cats by 51. Zeeble dispossessed. Duncan waits for it on the outside now. He's shoved into behind by Horn Francis. The umpire says, give it to me. 40 out from North Melbourne's goal, Church Street end, which is mostly in the shadows now of the sun setting behind us. Blitzarves wins it down only as far as Zeeble. He's collected here. Just tumbles a kick towards the goal mouth. Picked off on the last line by Zach Tui. He thumps it back up the line. 3-on-2. Cameron crashes the pack from behind. Marnie gathers here for North Melbourne. Follows up again. Off to Bazanova-Lagi. Now they're away. Perez off to Turner. He's dispossessed. It ends up with Hawkins. Sweeps it wide here for Dempsey. He spills it now. Regathers. Can work it full now. Stengel in plenty of space. He also spills it. 45 out. No one's back there. He has a shot at the goals on the run, and it's touched on the line by Bailey Scott, who kept running down the corridor and prevents any further Geelong goal. So 10-14-74 the Cats. North Melbourne 3-4-22. Geelong leads by 52 here.
Aiden Core receives the kick in. He goes short to McDonald. Still inside defensive 50. He'll kick up the line. McDonald in the Sherry direction. He had Kolajasny to contend with. It eluded Thomas. Handball now Selwood. There was a big tackle laid at centre half forward. It'll be a free kick against Curtis of the Cats. It was on Duncan. Might have got him a little high as he received the handball. Duncan goes short to centre half forward, back to Selwood. Thought about playing on by hand. And there'll be a 50-metre penalty, and Joel Selwood will be marked
That was he ran up to the mark, and almost because he ran up to the mark, he took like a step forward. The umpire didn't even have a chance to really yell stand.
Yeah, that was a violation of the stand rule, but I can't say I really caught it from my vantage point, but
that's a huge penalty.
It's all elementary as Joel Selwood kicks a goal from the top of the goal square. And Geelong go to 11-14-80, leading North Melbourne 3-4-22. They're now out to a 58-point advantage halfway through the third term.
I know, because I'm looking at the replay here. He just goes and mans the mark, probably a step and a half in front of where he actually marked the ball. So you see he just comes across in the front now, and he just doesn't come back a step. And then he just pays a 50 straight away. He didn't even give him a warning, though. Should have given him a warning to call him back, surely.
Yeah. It's not up to the player to actually know exactly where the mark is.
Yeah.
The umpire should say, hey, step back, step forward, whatever it may be. And if you just go and stand on the mark, well, the umpire should, in that area of the ground, say, mate, come back a metre.
Yeah.
Not just pay 50.
Margin 58. Restart back in the middle. Goldstein down to Horn Francis, who's collected by Selwood. Too high, says the umpire. So a free kick for the Kangaroos rookie. He plays on. Up the pipe now, inside forward 50. Zerha in amongst all that. Also Sherry. Falls to Simpkin, tumbles it toward the goal line. Stewart gets back there on the last line now. Nurses that kick up the line for Isaac Smith. It was nice ball use by foot. And the Cats can start again from right full back. Smith across the goal mouth. It was dicey as Lucky looked to close down Tui, but Tui is successful with the mark. And he goes to his fellow Irishman here in Mark O'Connor. Beyond defensive 50 now for the Cats. They are at left half back, and Duncan comes in for Smith. It was an untidy ball now. Almost picked off by Simpkin. He shrugs a tackle. Parfitt met him from behind. Ball comes free now. On the wing, in dispute. Thumbed out by Kolodjasny. Sort overruns it now. It's picked off by Walker. Hand pass out wide again. Going with the Fen. Scott kicks up the line now. Zerha in the contest with Atkins. As the Cats will rebound off half-back, it's with Mark O'Connor.
O'Connor, handball into the middle of the ground. Duncan had to wait for it. It eluded him at the last second. Greenwood came in and wrapped it in.
Ping him.
It's going to be holding the ball. The umpire waited and waited. Duncan couldn't extract the footy, and Greenwood will win a free kick for holding the ball. So Hugh Greenwood right in the heart of Bellerive Oval. He'll play on by hand to the running Basenavalagi. He'll kick North Melbourne inside 50. Big fist came from Stewart. It missed him. Gee, Tom Hawkins playing in defence a long way from home. He released Isaac Smith by hand. He takes a bounce as he gallops off half back. Kick is a beauty to Cameron, who marks on centre wing. Outstretched arms. He plays on by hand. Guthrie awaits. Receives the handball. Towards half forward now, the Cats. Horn Francis took it on the half volley. Handball to McDonald. It was cut off by Parfitt. Tackled now laid by Myers on Horn Francis. Got the hands free and won the handball. Now it'll come out via Marnie of North Melbourne. He finds a target in Sherry. He's on the broadcast wing. He marks in front of Kolodjasny. Awkward looking kick towards half forward. Pack will form at the back. Larky couldn't quite reel it in. Zeeble lays the tackle. Disputed ball inside North Melbourne's forward 50. It comes out eventually. De Koning receives the handball. And away go the Cats. Out of defensive 50. But Mackay gets back and takes a saving mark.
He's actually done very well today, Mackay. I thought the amount of times the ball's come to him and he's actually won it, he's done a good job.
Comes in field for Perez. Called to play on now. Sends it deep inside forward 50. Plenty of Cats defenders in there. Spoil comes from behind from Stewart. Duncan tries to gather. Sherry dispossesses him. Floats a hand pass forward. Now some high contact, which will go North Melbourne's way. And it was just a loose arm in there that time on Curtis Taylor. So he'll go back and take his set shot from 35 out, slightly left of centre. Kolodjasny just got him as the ball was in dispute. Andrew takes me to task on the SMS about the sun setting, saying the sun isn't setting, it's still hours away from that. Well, the sun is technically on its way down. Once it gets high in the sky, it starts coming down. It's still a little way away from sunset, but yeah.
Closer to setting than rising.
100%. Yeah, it's late in the Arvo. Going behind the mountain, of course. Mount Wellington, Canonian.
Goes down pretty quick here.
I think the Kangaroos need this, trailing by 58 points. Here is Curtis Taylor on the approach. He connects from 35 and misses to the left-hand side. Dearie me. North Melbourne 3-5-23. Trailing Geelong, who are 11-14-80. And we've played at hit time on in the third term. 20 minutes gone.
57 points the margin. Geelong lead.
On the barrel.
On the bounce, and Zach Tui has gone the barrel out of full back. He gains some pretty good territory too. Cats ball middle of the ground. It come to Parfitt. 2 kicks in and they're inside 50. Contest between Cameron and Core. Close rove the footy. He's got a runner in Stengel. Gave the handball. Coast to coast go. The Cats, another major. All too easy for Geelong. 12-14-86 the Cats. North Melbourne 3-5-23. They took it from one end to the other in a split second. Geelong lead by 63 points. 20 and a half minutes gone. Third term for Grandstand AFL.
It's just so deflating even when you're having a rough day to miss a set shot and then they go down in 18 seconds and kick a goal down the other end. It just sucks the life out of you even more so.
It went from one end to the other. There was 1, 2, 3 kicks all up, and a handball. They weren't even like well connected kicks. The kick out of full back was a bit of a mongrel. It didn't hit anyone, landed on the ground. But just Geelong swarming in their pace to run to where the ball is just completely blew North Melbourne away.
So Tyson Stengel has his goal from the restart. Taron Thomas first pair of hands to it. Dispossessed here by Guthrie. His handball picked off by Simpkin. Kangaroos will win the clearance. Simpkin shapes the kick, but goes the hand pass instead to Thomas. Works it back here to Davies-Uniacke. Simpkin kept running, receives it 40 out, closes on the run. Nice finish. The Kangaroos respond in no time at all. A classy goal from Jai Simpkin. And the Kangaroos have just their 4th of the afternoon. 4-5-29. Trailing Geelong, who are 12-14-86. Margin 57. 22 gone third quarter. This is ABC Sport, Grandstand AFL.
What you were saying before, Berkey, about their swarming and their speed at the ball. There was a couple of inside 50s previous to those last couple of goals that went down to the Kangaroos end, and you could just see the ball hit the deck. And you had Cats guys on the 4 points around where the ball was, plus guys fighting for it in the middle, and you had a couple of Kangaroo guys in the middle and then no one else. So if the ball comes out, which it does, the Cats just get it and away they go.
And that was one of the few times we've seen almost a proactive chain of handballs there from North Melbourne midfielders, all running in unison.
So North kick just their 4th of the afternoon. Can they string a couple together here? Back in the middle, Davies-Uniacke emerged with the footy. Tumbles the ball inside 50 for North Melbourne. It went over the back of the pack. Atkins arrives first for Geelong. Little clearing kick had to be precise to Holmes, and it was. Marks on his chest and plays on immediately. He's got the run of Tui, who he feeds, and Tui kicks up the line looking for Close. He was worked off the footy. He'll get a free kick. Brad Close. So Close in front of the interchange benches, hands it back off to Tui. His kick smothered by Young. It'll work out here for Geelong though. Parfitt will get on the end of it. Fend off the North Melbourne defender in Walker. Dink one inside 50. Cameron was there, as was Boston-Avalagi. Shared it with Thomas. His handball was picked off by Cameron. Went over the top to Higgins. Now Smith on the trusty left boot. Kicks around his body. A minus score for the Cats.
It's a bit of a score fest at the moment from one end to the other.
Margin back to 58. Scott lays off the hand pass, shares it with Core. Now it comes wide for Turner. Paul Curtis, beg your pardon, Curtis Taylor marks at left half back. Curtis Taylor on the 45, the centre circles. Courage going back with a flight. Guthrie had Larky coming the other way, and the Geelong midfielder has paid the free kick. Guthrie lays it off by hand to Duncan. Sweeps it forward now. It'll end up through Holmes. And now Isaac Smith. His handball intercepted as well. Somehow it ricochets towards half forward for the Cats. Zerherard after it. Has some support with Young running by as well. Can they get enough blue and white vertical stripes around that football here? Greenwood spun around, dispossessed. It goes inside forward 50. And it's an intercept mark taken by Mackay. Smith did well, but Mackay was dealt with after the fact. In that contest with Hawkins, and that will mean 50 here for North Melbourne. Ben Mackay to come up over the half-back line and close to the middle of the ground here, but the Cats will lead by 58 points.
Mackay gets things moving to Marnie. He had Bailey Scott running past. His handball was chopped off, though. Atkins came up with it for the Cats on the outer side. Kick was no good to Close. He was run down by Young. Now Marnie was dragged off his kick. Young went low, couldn't win the footy. Parfitt could, fed it up to Higgins. Now off to close. This is all being played at ground level. Marnie now shares it with Greenwood. Some clean possession from North Melbourne. Inside 50 go the Roos via the left boot of Greenwood, but Tui takes the saving mark and plays on immediately. Brian Myers provides run on the near side, gathers the bouncing footy. Neat ball is good to Holmes, who marks right in front of the interchange benches. His short ball is good to Duncan. He plays on. Right foot ball good inside 50. Finds Stengel. Spilt the mark. He's got Walker to contend with. Broke the tackle. Boston of Alagi lent a hand. Got the handball off to Myers. Now to Guthrie. Inside 50 go the Cats. Pack will form. It's all North Melbourne. And getting back was Core taking the mark.
I like the way Max Holmes works. He runs really hard into space and he's got a good turn of pace and good decision maker.
They come beyond defensive 50 and now it's a free kick out of all that for a push going Larky's way. So from left half back, again it was a low awkward kick and they pile in from all angles, just be holding the ball, and that's Flynn Perez I think underneath all of that, who has made no attempt to get rid of it. It was wrapped up by Blitzars. Blitzars plays on here by hand. Holmes kicks up inside forward 50. Single back with the flight. So too Cameron. Young does well on defence. Farms a hand pass out here for Core. He kicks off a step beyond defensive 50. Simpkin waits in the hole. Pressure from Buse coming through as well. Buse gets it away here. Here is Cameron. Lines up the pegs from 45 on that favourable left boot. All the way off for a goal. Goal umpire wasn't convinced. He had some work to do, but Jeremy Cameron with his 5th of the afternoon. And the Geelong side now leads by 64 points, 13-15-93. North Melbourne 4-5-29. Late stages, third quarter. This is Grandstand AFL.
There's 27 scoring shots to 9 at the moment, which probably tells the story
28.
more. 28. Sorry, my maths is no good.
And the scoreboard's no good.
That probably shows the dominance of Geelong more than anything. And they're creating goals just far too easily now. That ball was kicked indiscriminately out of the North Melbourne defence. But it was 5, and I'm counting now on the scoreboard, there was 5 Geelong players there to 1 North Melbourne player. They're just working and outnumbering far too easily.
Cherry won it down straight to Thomas. He was tackled by Parfitt, eventually got it out. Not sure how, but the scrappy kick from Guthrie found Duncan. Outer side go the Cats. Kick over the top was good to Smith, who had Parfitt running shotgun, gave him the handball. They'll go inside 50 now, the Cats. Getting back, though, taking the mark was Walker in defence for North Melbourne. He goes laterally to Turner, who's got Curtis at left half back. Cleared defensive 50. North Melbourne, and Curtis, who's shown a little bit for the Roos this afternoon, has the footy. Kick up the line in the Sherry direction through his hands. When Francis did the roving, there's a whistle. And it'll come back to Sherry. North Melbourne free kick. Near side, centre wing. He's got McDonald short if he wants. McDonald says, don't go to me, kick it long. And that's exactly what Sherry does. High ball inside 50, over the top Larky. Zeeble roved it, his kick was smothered. Zerha's handball was picked off by Atkins, who gave it to Duncan. Went to Smith, he'll retreat back to Stewart, who marks 5 metres out from his defensive goal.
Geelong by 64 points here late in the third quarter. Stewart just holds the Sharon for a moment. Goal to play on. Let's give it a roost beyond defensive 50. 2 on 2. Donald drops back there for North Melbourne. Sherry gathers and they will ball it up right in front of us at right half back. Tristan Sherry, the only male player with a surname X, starting with X. Of course, in AFL and AFLW history, there's one other, Nicola Zenos at St Kilda in the AFLW. So it's still pretty incredible. The only man ever to have the surname beginning with X, Tristan Sherry. You can test the ruck here against Stanley. It goes toward the boundary line for a throw. Just thought I'd put it in there. And we'll throw it back in again here. The Cats by 64 points. There's nothing else to talk about anyway. This result's a foregone conclusion. It's the Cats 13-15-93, North Melbourne 4-5-29.
In it comes from the boundary throw-in. Stanley got to the front. Young couldn't bring it down. It came out to Walker. He's tackled by Cameron. Fed it up somehow to Luke McDonald, but he's run over the boundary line by Brandon Parfitt of the Cats.
Yeah, actually right before Berkey, they are just working harder both ways. Like, they've had 70 more possessions than the Roos, but they've also had almost a dozen more tackles. So they're just going both ways at the moment.
Just forward of a wing for Geelong. Close attempts to burrow through, but he's wrapped up in the Bossitavalagi tackle. We'll have another ball up. Geelong lead by 64 points here at Bellerive. It comes down to Simpkin. Kick around the body from Young. High ball getting back and marking just inside the boundary line was Duncan, who's been prominent today. And there's the three-quarter time siren. Geelong 13-15-93. North Melbourne 4-5-29. The Cats will take a 64-point lead into the fourth and final term. Jeremy Cameron has 5 majors for the Cats. Tom Hawkins got going. He has 3 singles to Joel Selwood, Tyson Stengel, Ollie Dempsey, Cam Guthrie and Brad Close for North Melbourne. Just the 4 singular goal kickers, Luke McDonald, Jai Simpkin, Hugh Greenwood and Cam Zurha have 1 apiece.
Chris Scott's man well and truly in control here. 64 points. Geelong's lead at three-quarter time. Wherever you're listening on ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital, this is Grandstand AFL.
ABC Sport now has its very own newsletter, and we'd be pumped to have you on board.
The ABC of Sport will provide a wrap of all the best stuff that's happening in sport every week.
Simply go to abc.net.au/connect
and get ready for a sport hit in your inbox every Friday.
Get on board with the ABC of Sport newsletter
for content that makes you think
or allows you not to.
The 2022 AFL Premiership season.
Grandstand AFL on ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
Walker still inside defensive 50, the Roos. He plays on by Handers. Walker to Davies Uniacke. He's wrapped up. Geelong ball. Stengel comes up with it. Wanted Hawkins running back towards goal. He gathers on the bounce and slams it home.
Lucky Young, the former dog. Kick out duties. This was a dicey one here. One away here for the Cats. Fed out from Holmes, back to Dempsey, who snaps and dribbles it through. Ollie Dempsey, and they come from absolutely everywhere.
Cats ball middle of the ground, it come to Parfitt. 2 kicks in and they're inside 50. Contest between Cameron and Core. Close rove the footy. He's got a runner in Stengel. Gave the handball. Coast to coast go. The Cats, another major. All too easy for Geelong.
Kangaroos will win the clearance. Simpkin shapes the kick, but goes the hand pass instead to Thomas. Works it back here to Davies Uniacke. Simpkin kept running, receives it 40 out, closes on the run. Nice finish.
This is the 2022 AFL Premiership season.
On ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
Three-quarter time at Bellerive Oval in sunny Hobart, where Geelong leads North Melbourne by 64 points at the final change. Up next, we head north for the Q Clash, where Quentin Hull and the team will head up the commentary team there for the Gold Coast Suns and the Brisbane Lions. Q Clash 22. Later on, Richmond v Melbourne at the MCG, of course, which has become a new tradition as part of the Anzac Day weekend in the AFL, and basketball coverage in Perth or across WA, where the Wildcats will host the South East Melbourne Phoenix in their final game of this NBL regular season. You're with Brett Sprigg alongside Chris Rowbottom, Nathan Burke and Jay Schultz, with Nicole Bresnahan on the boundary. And we can head north now for a preview of the Q Clash and our own Q, who will head up the team as always. Quentin Hull, good afternoon.
G'day, Spriggy. There's some scattered showers around southeast Queensland and northern New South Wales. Not raining at Carrara at the moment, and expecting around the 12,000 fans for this 22nd instalment of the derby between the Gold Coast Suns and the Brisbane Lions. And to be frank, there's heaps of pressure on the locals today to reinvigorate this clash, because it's been a one-way street of recent years. Brisbane has won the last 6 derbies. Jared Lyons winning the Marcus Ashcroft medal for best on ground in this game in both games last year, where Brisbane won at this venue by 73 points in round 9, and then at the Gabba later in the year by 49 points. There's going to be some late team news as well for the Gold Coast Suns, because Malcolm Roses Jr. is out with a calf injury. Jai Farah is ill and he won't be playing as well. So a couple of the emergencies will get a run. Chris Burgess is going to be playing for Gold Coast, and Alex Davies will be for the Suns as well. Brisbane, as the round started, in the top 4, 4 wins, 1 loss, and the Suns, they have a 2-3 record. Last start loss to St Kilda, which doesn't look like such bad form considering the way that the Saints are going. And of course the Lions' last start was a bounce back win from their loss at Cardinia Park by getting over the Magpies by 7 points at the start of Easter weekend. Sunny here, but there's some clouds around. Q Clash 22 coming your way once you finish up down there at Belrive.
Thank you, Q. Cannot wait for that. Nicole Bresnahan on the boundary for us this afternoon. Quiet debut from yourself, Nicole, but that's probably good news for these two sides. No injuries to speak of.
Yeah, it has been. No major injuries to report on, but Joel Selwood and Zach Toohey spending plenty of time on the bench that third quarter.
Yeah, I guess when you're up by so much, they're pretty comfortable, the Cats. They'll feel as though they can probably rotate some of those more senior personnel off the ground. Thanks, Nicole. We'll check in with you plenty of times throughout this last quarter because, not much to speak of as far as action on the benches through the game so far. A thought of Nathan Burke and Jay Schultz before the fourth term gets underway.
I think it's the 80 extra possessions that Geelong have had. You give Geelong 80 extra possessions, they're going to score very, very heavily. 48 more uncontested possessions than what North Melbourne have had. And amazingly, they've had 80 more possessions, yet they're leading the tackle count by 12. If the other team has 80 more possessions than you, there's pretty much at least half of those, 40 opportunities to tackle. So what I'm seeing from North Melbourne is a little bit of what happens when sides are like this, and I've played in them myself. I know exactly what it feels like. You start to think, you know what, I need to get my hands on the ball. And if I get 20, 25 possessions, well then, you know what, I stay out of the line of fire, I get myself a game next week, and everything's great. And I think North Melbourne are in that mode at the moment.
Jay?
A bit there as well, but because it's not that they're not getting their hands on it, because they're actually winning the clearances. So, but they're losing their hitouts in the ruck. They're winning the clearances, so they're in and under getting it, but then they're just giving it up far too easy.
Geelong by 64 points, final term underway as Horn Francis is wrapped up by Joel Selwood, so he's starting on the ground in this last quarter.
Just 4 possessions in the last quarter for Selwood, just took it pretty easy.
Stanley taps it away here, only as far as Taron Thomas, who's collected straight away by Higgins. He's up against one of his former sides this afternoon. 108 games as a Kangaroo.
So from the restart, Joel Selwood comes away with it for the Cats. His kick inside 50. Well, Mackay thought he had the mark. He was knocked off it. Little kick came off the ground. It's going to dribble through.
That's a mark.
Yeah.
Well,
every day of the week.
Everybody stopped, including Mackay. He thought he'd taken the chest mark, but he was bumped as he took the mark. It spilled out, and Tom Hawkins ran past, got a toe to it, and kicked his 4th major of the afternoon. Disastrous start to the 4th and final term for North Melbourne. Cats out to a 70-point lead, 14-15-99 Geelong. North Melbourne 4-5-29. Nicole Bresnahan's on the boundary. She spotted a change-up in the middle of the ground for North Melbourne.
Yeah, just noticed there Zeebel's moved into the middle, hopefully to bolster the midfield of Horn Francis and Simkin.
Zeebel started the year in defence, of course. He spent the last couple of weeks forward, and now he's into the middle.
He's kicked a few goals as well this season so far, Jack Zeebel.
Second most.
I think he kicked 5 in one game, didn't he, in the game that we did at Docklands against West Coast. That was their only win so far, North Melbourne. They won't be winning here today. Waiting for a clearance. Duncan wraps up Horn Francis, and the umpire will ball it up. Margin is 70 points Geelong's way. 2.5 played in this final term. Goldstein down to Horn Francis, slips the Duncan tackle, fires a hand pass to Simpkin, hose a kick up the corridor now. Lagi puts the tackle here on the ball carrier in O'Connor, and will ball it up again near that point of the square.
They're just forward of the centre circle for North Melbourne as Taron Thomas went low. He was tackled by Selwood. It spilled out to Horn Francis. He attracts the crowd. Eventually it's wrenched away by Dempsey, who feeds Selwood with the handball. Another chance here for Geelong. Inside 50 they go. Cameron on the lead. He'll kick for his 6th of the afternoon.
It's that no pressure ball coming inside 50. It's just, you give your defenders no chance to stop that. And, you know, Jeremy's got that whole other side of the ground that's opened up to him because the ball's coming through the middle of the ground. It's got all that area to lead into, and it's not a pressure kick. It's Selwood will hit that every day of the week.
Kicking boots on this afternoon, Jeremy Cameron. He's kicked 5-1. He leans back on this one for his 6th. Umpire barely moves. It's straight over his hat. and Geelong have the first two of the fourth and final term. It is getting messy here at Bellerive. Geelong 15-15, 105. North Melbourne 4-5-29. The Cats lead by 76 points.
Last night I travelled all the way over to Adelaide to see Port Adelaide beat West Coast by 84. I'm travelling down here up to 76, so a little bit of interest from myself. Which game is going to be the worst one?
Hopefully tomorrow will be a bit better, mate.
Tomorrow's Hawthorn-Sydney will be a much better game than either of those two.
If there's another 80-point one tomorrow, I'm taking the next 3 weeks.
Not good for the game, Berkey.
No.
By any means. 76 points, Geelong's lead. That's Jeremy Cameron's equal best haul. In fact, his equal best haul as a Cat. Of course, his second year at Geelong. As they win the clearance here, the Kangaroos, through Davies-Uniacke. Players converge up inside 50. Marnie crumbs it here, wrapped up by Buse. Buse has the footy now as Marnie turns tackler and will ball it up. 35 out from the goals at the river end. That's where the Kangaroos are attacking. As Jay Schultz said, they've certainly won their fair share of clearances, as there is a free kick here going Zerha's way. It was taken around the shoulder by Holmes.
Yeah, see, that's the... They get their first hands to the ball, but then they either just cough it up, and Geelong have got the outside space and they just run away with it because the Kangaroos boys are all so in and under at it.
Zerha's had a slow start to the year as well. He's back in the side this week. He's already had one goal this afternoon. Just the 2 goals on the year. And here he is with a set shot from 40 metres out directly in front. He lays into this and makes no mistake. So if nothing else, Cam Zerha becomes North Melbourne's first multiple goal kicker this afternoon. At 5-5-35, Geelong 15-15, 105 here on Grandstand AFL, 5 gone final term.
Well, that was another clearance by Luke Davies-Uniacke out of the middle. He's up to the 19 possessions now and really leading the way as their midfielder. Simpkin hasn't really done much. Horne-Francis has tried hard. You see he's sort of been in and under, working pretty hard around the pack. Hasn't had a big influence on the game. Simpkin's kicked the goal, always tries hard, but not really influencing the game like Davies-Uniacke has. And he needs some help going forward. In the next couple of years, he's going to be a good player, but he definitely needs far more help than he's getting at the moment.
70 points even, the margin back in the middle. Goldstein down to Horne-Francis. Clearance comes via North Melbourne towards the top centre half forward. Zeeble went down. He gave away a free kick in the process. It'll go the way of Geelong. O'Connor takes the kick out to Kolodjasny, who was very casual. Boston-Avalagi broke it up. Got the handball to Zerha. Kolodjasny butted up well, though, and later good tackle on Zerha. And one holding the ball free kick, so made up for a casual effort in taking the mark. Goes short inboard to Smith. Left half back for the Cats, who lead this one by 70. Smith goes for a gallop. He'll kick up the broadcast wing. Dempsey thought about flying. He elected to stay down. Big fist came. It'll spill over the boundary line for a boundary throw-in directly in front. The commentary position here at Bellerive, 6.5 gone in this fourth and final term. Geelong on the way to a big win, 70 points to the good. The Cats, what can the Roos muster in terms of something of a consolation in this final term? Horne-Francis might have thrown it out. Thomas went low. He broke a tackle. Then a second tackle came from Parfity. Got it out to McDonald, who got it off to Young. Across the ground go the Roos. Bailey Scott marks. Back point of the square. Short ball out in front of Young, who kept running. He marks in front of Stewart. So Roos have it. Outer wing, inside 50. They go in the Larky direction. Couldn't get access to the footy. Horne-Francis at the fall of the ball. He's wrapped up in a tackle. 40 metres out from their goal. We'll have a ball up.
We'll get a crowd figure from Nicole Bresnahan shortly. So this is what happens here in this 450 stoppage. The Kangaroos attacking towards the river end. Larky tries to tap it away here. Goldstein puts a tackle on Holmes. And now he's on hands and knees with the ball. Hand pass comes from Zeeble to Marnie. He balks. His kick responded by Parfitt. Great work. Holmes puts a tackle again on the ball carrier. That'll be a free kick for a push in the back. Just wasn't enough care in the tackle on that occasion. And That will give a free kick to
Zeeble, I think it is.
Zeeble, who was in there time and time again. And indeed, the North Melbourne skipper just getting up to his feet now, looking a little worse for wear.
I think a little bit winded.
Did you catch the crowd figure, Nicole, a short time ago?
No attendance figure at this stage. Or did it come up on the screen there? I'll
No,
have to-
8663.
There we go. 8663.
Thanks, Jay.
Thought maybe you knew something we didn't, Jay.
Yeah.
So Jack Zeeble is on the approach here in the left forward pocket. In fact, he's probably a better angle than that. He's better than 45 degrees. He lays into it from 45. It's all consolation here for North Melbourne, but Jack Zeeble joins their goal kickers. 6-5-41, trailing Geelong 15-15, 105. We've played 9 minutes of this fourth term on Grandstand AFL.
Well, you know, wherever Jack Zeeble goes, he's going to try hard. He's been down back at stages. He's started the game up forward. As Nicole called it quite rightly before, he's gone into the middle to make a bit of a difference there. But this time playing is that high forward, just put himself in the right position at the right time, and still a little bit clumsy with the tackling. And as we know these days, you fall into a player's back, then the umpire will pay those every time.
Where do you reckon he's best suited, mate? Where do you reckon? I love him as a player. I've always thought he's a midfielder. Where do you reckon he's best suited?
Yeah, I'm not sure he's got the legs to play midfield for a long time at the moment, but you've got to play like that. Let him kick goals.
Yep.
Be up the front.
Yep.
From the restart, into the middle. Holmes emerges with it for the Cats. Runs his full measure. Kicks inside 50. Turner couldn't take the mark. Thomas in defence. Fed it up to Core, who clears defensive 50, but his ball was very errant. It only went as far as Guthrie, who had O'Connor running past. He kicks a long searching ball inside 50. Hawkins at the back of the pack, read it best off hands, shrugged one tackle, couldn't shrug the second, won the handball to Brian Myers. Dempsey spins out of trouble, into trouble, handballs over the line. Eventually we'll have a boundary throw in the left back pocket for North Melbourne, right forward pocket for the Cats.
Not sure what Big Tommy was doing there. He was on his right boot. Wasn't a bit hard snap, but just overplayed it a little bit.
64 points Geelong's way. Hawkins just taps this away from the stoppage all the way to the goal line, and Dempsey couldn't quite get there to finish it off with a socker. So it's through for a minus score. Geelong 15-16, 106. North Melbourne 6-5-41. The margin now 65.
So Core to bring it in. Lopes out of the goal square and clears defensive 50 with a long ball. Coney got front spot, came down to Blitzarves. Geelong will go inside 50 again. Mackay just out-wrestled Hawkins in the end and took a good mark on his chest. He plays on, he goes by hand to Core, who has some time and space inside the defensive 50. He's kicked to a 2-on-1 to the debutant in Curtis, who had plenty of work to do. Parfitt, it was easy pickings in the end, took the mark in front. Put Curtis under the pump. Geelong will come up with it. Short little pokey ball inside 50. Sean Higgins takes the mark. Take his kick from outside the paint. Run around, gain some territory and send the ball to the top of the goal square. Pack will form big fly Hawkins, who just crashed into a North Melbourne player that was a blatant free kick.
He's having a whinge about it too. He just ran and jumped straight into play with his knees in his arms and missed the ball by 3 metres and had a whinge.
Mackay's free kick finds Young, and he darts back across the defensive goal mouth here to the left back pocket, and Perez, who's never played in a win. This is now his 6th game overall, Flynn Perez, and he won't get one here today either. So from left half back, ball comes low here to Turner. It was awkward for him. Holmes gathers here for Geelong. Turner in the back of him. Loose footy picked up by Myers. Hand pass back here. It'll come wide to Guthrie. Tries to go back to the player it came from, Atkins. And now all the way back here to Higgins. Stanley. Just in front of the centre circles. Tui. Squeezes the kick wide now for Stewart. He can go inside forward 50 on the angle. It's marked by Buse. 35 back at 45 out, and he rides it all the way home, but it's missing to the right-hand side. So the Cats keep peppering away, building on this 6-point lead now, 15-17, 107 to 6-5-41.
Taran Thomas to bring it in for North Melbourne. So another magnet move with Thomas maybe having a quarter in defence for North Melbourne as they look to find something. Zeeble now middle of the ground. Here's Larkey who marks right on the bullseye. North Melbourne, he plays on by hand, back to Zeeble. He's got Scott in support. He missed him with a handball, but he did okay to gather it. Inside 50 now go North Melbourne. Stewart got to the front, down to Curtis. Can he kick? His first goal in AFL footy. Left foot ball is good. And Curtis gets some consolation in his debut. He peppered and peppered and peppered away, did Paul Curtis. 3 behinds, but he finally finds the big sticks. North Melbourne get another. There's 7-5-47. Still trailing by an even 10 goals. Geelong 15-7, 107, 13 and a half gone. Fourth and final term here at Bellerive, Grandstand AFL.
But as you called it there, peppered away. He's kicked 3 behinds before he managed to get his first goal. But I've liked the way he's moved up and down the ground around that forward line. He looks like a natural, crafty goal kicker, and it's something that the Kangaroos desperately need, is that small player who can bob up, kick 1 or 2 on a good day, might end up with 3 or 4, put a bit of pressure on, lay a few tackles. So I think, I'm not going to go as far as to say they've found one here, but certainly looks comfortable at this level.
It's a dynamic forward. He can play mid as well. I'm sure as confidence builds, he'll be sort of swung that way at various stages throughout his career if he does make his mark. From the restart, Stanley down to Parfitt, tries to just hurry a kick away. And Guthrie met in a big Simpkin tackle. Ball comes free, gathered here by Selwood. He can work it forward. Holmes 50 metres out now. Just checks the kick, goes in low here for Stengel. Goes back to the corridor by hand. It was a little too hot for Myers. Still alive here. Cameron, though, his handball is picked off by Cherry, and they're away here off half back, the Kangaroos. Here is Paul Curtis. He gets away from Jed Buse. Hand pass on the bounce here to Jack Zeeble. He looks at the options, kicks up in the air, a tumbling ball which will be marked by Larkey. 50 metres out, slightly to the left. Bearing in mind, Nick Larkey is goalless this afternoon, having kicked 14 before today. He may go back here and take the shot.
Twice they've come through the centre corridor and having shots of goal, which is something they haven't done very much at all today.
Bit of momentum here with North Melbourne, although they're still a long way back on the scoreboard. Larkey connects from right on 50. It's off to the right-hand side, drops in the pocket. Buse comes through, keeps it alive here. And Blitzarves goes out of bounds with it, right alongside that right behind post, deep at the river end. Geelong 15-17, the Kangaroos 7-5, 16 gone final quarter on Grandstand AFL.
Right forward pocket for North Melbourne. Boundary throw in. And it comes. Sherry to the front. Double palmed it down. Selwood over the top to Guthrie, who got it to Holmes. Little neat ball to Close. They cleared offensive 50, the Cats. Close marks. So left half back. Close plays on. Gains some territory and kicks towards the broadcast wing. Mackay stands tall. Takes the mark in the middle of the pack. He goes dangerously inboard looking for Larkey. North Melbourne will come up with it through Simpkin, who spun out of trouble really well. Evaded the Duncan tackle, gave it to Larkey, who got it back to Simpkin. Left foot ball to half forward. Sliding and taking the chest mark is Zeeble. Thought about the hand pass back to Simpkin, who was running by. He'll take his kick inboard. Well, the two North Melbourne players got in each other's way. Eventually it was Flynn Perez who come up with it. Short ball. Luke McDonald ended up dropping a chest mark. Greenwood come up with it. Handed it off to Davies Uniacke. Left foot ball is good. Another goal to North Melbourne. So Luke Davies Uniacke hits the scoreboard. North Melbourne reel it back into 54 points. Geelong 15-17, 107. North Melbourne 8-5, 53. 17 minutes gone. Fourth and final term. Grandstand AFL.
He's played really well today, Ben McKay. He's fought really hard. It's been a good contest between those two. He's leading the field for marks. He's had 9 marks today. And he's just stood up at the right time when he needed to then as well, and he's helping create goals. He's had a tough ask on Big Tommy today, but I think he's fought his battle really well.
He's got 10 intercept possessions too. Yeah. I reckon most of those 9 marks have come from intercept marks, so I thought he's done a really good job there as well.
So 54 points the margin. We start back in the middle. Stanley rises above Cherry, and he's spotted a free kick here going Geelong's way, and back to Joel Selwood. Selwood from the centre circles. Works it forward here for Atkins. Handball's wide for Guthrie. 65 out on the entry. It's wide for Stengel. Nice mark taken right in front of the boundary line. He's 25 around from that right behind post. Assesses the options inboard, but holds the footy for a moment. Tyson Stengel. He does just tee it up to the hot spot, but Walker floats across in defence and takes the intercept.
So Roos have it inside defensive 50. Walker assesses his options. Eventually just dump it long. Clear defensive 50 to a contest, and Stewart was worked underneath it. He'll get a free kick. At left half forward for Geelong. Juan Francis will step the mark. And that was the I Love Dempsey boys who were retrieving the footy in the crowd. Having a good time here at Bellerive. She's been okay too. So Stewart inside 50 for the Cats. Walker got hands to it, couldn't bring it down. Davies Uniacke lost his handle on the ball. It fell out to Stengel, who snapped around his body and kicked another for the Cats. His second of the afternoon. And Geelong hit back out to 60 points. The Cats 16, 17, 113. North Melbourne 8, 5, 53. Stengel has a couple.
A little bit of X factor about him, doesn't he, Stengel? He's quick and he's mobile, in and under, and he can finish as well.
The third leading goal kicker for the Cats so far this season, 8 coming into this week. So he's doing his job. He's hitting the scoreboard as well. So an excellent addition to this group. We had a texter who was spot on earlier who mentioned the importance of percentage. So what are we up to now? We're up to 60 points.
But it was at one stage 76.
Yeah, we're up to 60 points now, which is okay, but you think with the dominance of the Cats for most of the day, 60 is not as big as potentially what it should have been.
They've not had big wins. 13 points against Collingwood, 10 against the Brisbane Lions. Of course, lost by 2 goals to Hawthorn last week, the Cats. Up inside 50 here they go, North Melbourne. As flying shot and goal from Horn Francis. It's away to the left-hand side and through for a minus score. In fact, it is a minus score. So the Kangaroos 8-6-54, trailing Geelong, who are 16, 17, 113. 59 points is now the Cats' lead.
Stewart brings it in, out of side, as a man all on his own, right half back. Joel Selwood, who takes the mark uncontested, gets things moving. They raffle at the Cats. Brian Myers takes the mark. He's got Collar Jasny running past. They go forward again here, Geelong. Stengel marks it right half forward. Thought about wheeling around. Thought about the little kick to Parfitt inside. Eventually went for Cameron on the lead, but Blitzarves got in the way and took an easy mark on the chest. And now he'll kick for goal. Mark Blitzarves hasn't hit the scoreboard this afternoon, playing in defence and in the ruck. The old school utility player, Mark Blitzarves. Can he play forward here? Leans back on the kick, slight angle, just misses to the near side. It's Mark Blitzarves, a minus scored. $60 points the margin, 16-18, 114. The Cats, North Melbourne 8-6-54.
Clean 10 goals, the break here for the Cats, as the kick out is picked off by Higgins. That was untidy work from Taron Thomas. Higgins puts the Cats back inside 50, and Cameron leads up from the pocket, marks 45 out, slight angle to the right.
Well, I do have to put in my votes for the Anzac Day medalist. If he puts this one, it might just get him from 2 to 3. If he misses, it might just keep him at 2.
It would also be his best haul as a Geelong Cat, Jeremy Cameron, in his second year at Kinnear Park. He's on the approach, and with that is goal number 7.
And 3 votes.
The Big Jezza. Geelong 17, 18 on 120. North Melbourne 8-6-54. The margin back out to 66. We've played 23 minutes in this final term on Grandstand AFL. 10 goals in the space of 2 weeks. See that 3 against the Hawks last week. Reminder, of course, you can keep your texts coming, 0437 774 774. Have enjoyed the call, guys. I would love to see Tassie get their own AFL team one day, says Kevin in Myrtleford, Victoria. Has it been spoken about much at all, Chris, the Tassie team at any stage in the past few years? Or?
Oh, it bobs its head up here and there.
1 or 2 times.
Every now and again. The issue of the Tassie AFL team.
And someone here says, a pack of lions are called a pride, a flock of crows are called a murder, and a herd of mullets is called a giggle. I don't know where that's come from, but we're off to the Lions and the Suns next for Q Clash 22.
It's probably about where this matchup is at the moment, as Goldstein wins it down middle of the ground for North Melbourne. Horn Francis tracks it, can't gather it cleanly. It comes out to Scott, who hands it off to McDonald. Handball over the top now to Horn Francis. McDonald kept running. He opted not to handball. He kicked forward and gained 35 metres, did Horn Francis. Marnie marks it left half forward for North Melbourne. Kick in board. Wonderful mark getting back. Colin Jasny put his head in the hole and to a good defensive mark. Kicks short now to Higgins. Inside defensive 50, the Cats, who lead by 66 points here in Hobart. On the outer side now via Tom Stewart. This thing's moving up the line. Kane Turner couldn't take the mark in front of his opponent. Ground level now. Duncan went crashing in. Fed out by Marnie. Got it off to Hugh Greenwood. Shared it with Zerha to Sherry. Now back to Marnie. Now Zerha again. Lost his handle. Runs inside 50 after regathering the footy. Colin Jasny tackled him and he's pinged holding the ball. 2 brilliant defensive efforts from Colin Jasny, the Tasmanian. Geelong will have a free kick inside defensive 50.
But again, Jay, he opted to defend. So once you go defend and you take on the tackler and you lose, well, it's just bad luck.
Yeah, absolutely. He was probably just a little bit casual with trying to collect the ball initially, fumbled the ball.
Yep, one-handed.
Yeah, that's right. And then he caught himself in trouble.
Colin Jasny finds Holmes. Meanwhile, Nicole, keep an eye on Nick Larkey, who's was in the hands of trainers a short time ago, looking a bit proppy on his right-hand side. That would be a very concerning development for North Melbourne as they come across the goal mouth here, and it's marked by De Koning. Larkey got there late because he is troubled by some sort of concern. I'll update you on that very shortly. We'll get some reaction from the Geelong rooms, then take you off to Carrara for Q Clash 22. As we make our way through a massive Sunday Anzac Day Eve on Grandstand AFL. With Colin Jasny, comes inboard for Higgins, and the Cats just chip it around here. They lead by 66 points.
Sting well and truly out of this one here in Hobart. Up the line now. Duncan was interfered with. McDonald gives away the free kick. And the Cats will retain possession out of sight. He plays on by hands to the running Higgins, who kicks to right half forward for the Cats in the Stanley direction, and coming through heavily might have been Mackay. He's down on his haunches, and
it was Stanley was coming the other way.
Daniel from Darwin off the SMS says, don't forget us. We'd like our own team as well, of course, up in the Territory.
Stanley kicks inboard. It's chopped off immediately by Greenwood, who plays on by hand to the running Simpkin. Now it's Davies Uniacke who received the handball flat-footed. He's taken by Atkins, but no prior deemed the umpire. We'll have a ball up in the middle of Belrive. It goes. Dying stages here at Belrive Oval. It comes out to Thomas, who gave the handball off to Davies Uniacke. Sends a high ball inside 50 for North Melbourne. Getting back to Koning, taking a really strong defensive mark. A one-on-one on Larkey. That's been the story for North Melbourne's afternoon here in Hobart.
Tui finds Holmes across the defensive goal here. Holmes wheels and goes from half back. He finds Close, second, third bite, and won't pull it in. It's off hands. Neil lets us know, by the way, and I've verified this. Jeremy Cameron's 7-goal haul, the best by any player at this ground in AFL footy. So there you go. A few players have had 6. Bailey Fritsch most recently. But a 7-goal haul for Jeremy Cameron. And the highlight here for Geelong in their 66 points and counting domination. Up towards half forward here for the Kangaroos. Ball comes from behind Atkins, this time on Davies Uniacke, and it's off hands for a throw-in, 65 around from the Kangaroos' goal.
It's usually because it's either got sideways rain coming in here, or there's actually ice on the ground when you start. So
it's not conducive to clean goal kicking.
66 points the margin, deep into the final term. Boundary throw-in. Simpkin emerges with the footy. Left foot kick now inside 50 for North Melbourne. Getting back Stewart off the ground. Something remarkable perhaps with a half volley Young, but it missed. Minor score. Cats Zeeble flying through.
Cats bring it away here. Tui marks in the right back pocket. As you say, Chris, the Sting's gone out of this game. Geelong led by 17 points at quarter time, by 37 at the half, 64 at the final change. It's 65 points now. It was at one stage 76, so it's been all the Cats. It can be on defensive 50. Up goes Dempsey, debutant. At the drop though, Perez for North Melbourne. Off to Zurhaar. Flying shot from 40 on the run. That for goal number 3. And he's been among North Melbourne's best today as well, Cameron Zurhaar. The highlights have been few and far between. 3 goals for him. That's North Melbourne's 9th all up. They're 9-7-61. Geelong 17-18 on 120 in the dying minutes here at Bellerive.
Well, 3 goals in a losing team is it's a good effort. He's had the 11 possessions across the day, which is not a huge amount for a mobile forward who gets up the ground, but certainly ending up with three goals is a solid effort. But again, the Cats are just not capitalising on this big lead. Here's an opportunity to really jump up the ladder and get some much needed percentage, because at the moment it looks like there's going to be a whole bunch of teams around that 4 and 2 come the end of this round. And that percentage is going to be important.
Nicole Bresnahan's on the boundary.
Yeah, Ben Mackay just came off just before, was in the hands of the trainers. Looked a little bit proppy, but he's walking along the boundary line at the moment, so he should be fine to go back on.
Back in the middle from the restart. Final stages of this game. Horn Francis has battled hard all day, the rookie. Can't win the footy on this occasion, but he will win a free kick. He was held as he went after it. Thought about playing on by hand to McDonald. He says no in the end. Half forward is Thomas, who marks and wheels around onto his right foot, sends a long ball to the goal mouth. Goldstein couldn't take the mark. Gathered by Stanley, last line of defence. Sold a teammate in Tui into trouble. Cats keep it alive though. Atkins will run it out, share it with De Koning. He'll kick up the wing, looking for Close. Young just nudged him out of it. Dempsey, handball over the top. Close was just held without it by Thomas. Play on advantage to the Cats. Here's Dempsey at left half forward. Shares it with Hawkins. Dempsey runs to 50. Pops it out in front of Cameron, who'll kick for an 8. Jay Schultz spotted that 100 metres off the ball. But Jeremy Cameron was going to end up on the end of the play. And that's exactly where it went.
Without Dempsey's mates on the boundary and down here, they were telling him to keep going, streaming for goal. Did the team thing.
So Cameron steps in from 40, leans back on the kick, and he misses. Minor score for Jeremy Cameron, who's kicked 7 goals 2 for the afternoon.
Long quarter, 31.5 minutes played. McDonald kicks out beyond defensive 50. Up in the contest, Horn Francis comes loose now. Atkins turns tackler here. And getting up off the deck is Taron Thomas. Hands it back to the umpire. Ball up, commentary side. Ricky Ponting wing. Stanley dispossessed here. Horn Francis taken high in turn here, so a free kick North Melbourne.
He's still having a crack, Horn Francis. I like the way he goes about it.
Oh, Thomas fired out a hand pass to Flynn Perez. I didn't see it coming, so we'll throw it back in on the Coventry side wing. Geelong keeps a 60-point lead.
He's going to be a good player, Berkey, isn't he?
Yeah.
But like you said earlier, he's going to need some help in there. Otherwise, he's just going to get smashed by two opposition opponents every day.
Boundary thrown right in front of the interchange bench where Ben Mackay sits. A little sore. Guthrie emerges with the footy. Kick around the corner. 2 North Melbourne players fly. Thomas claims the mark. Umpire said he had the biggest piece in front of Cherry. Kicks North Melbourne towards half forward, and he's turned it straight over. Kicked it straight onto the chest of Tom Stewart. He wheels around. Kicks Geelong to half forward. Hawkins' direction, too strong. Got to the back. Eventually it came to Close, who had Dempsey. The crowd rises. His handball was errant. Spiked out by Turner. Was it deliberate? It was. Inside 50 go the Cats. Cameron direction, was he worked underneath it? Umpire said no. McDonald took the ball. He was tackled. Siren sounds. Geelong record a 60-point victory here in Hobart. 17-19, 121. North Melbourne 9-7-61. The Cats winners by 10 goals.
And our North Melbourne Kangaroos win 9 goals, 7, Jim.
Yeah, look. Waiting for a song. Anyway, till we get there, Jeremy Cameron, 7 goals, 3. Tom Hawkins with 4 goals, 1. Also for the winners, the goal kickers, Stengel had 2. Singles for Dempsey, Guthrie, Close and Selwood. Meanwhile, for North Melbourne, it was 3 goals for Cam Zurhaar, singles for Curtis on debut, Zeeble, Davies, Uniacke, McDonald, Simpkin and Greenwood. Here's the song.
We are Geelong, the greatest team of all. We are Geelong, we're always on the ball. We play the game as it should be played, at home or far away. Our banners fly high from dawn to dark, down at Gardenia Park.
With that win, they jump up to 6th. Geelong with their 4th victory of season 2022. They're led by 17 points at quarter time, by 37 at the half, by 64 at three-quarter time, running out winners by a clean 10 goals in the end. 60 points over a timid North Melbourne in the very sunny conditions here on a cool Sunday afternoon in Bellerive.
We are Geelong, the greatest team of all. We are Geelong, we're always on the ball. We play the game as it should be played, at home or far away. Our banners fly high from dawn to dark, down at Gardenia Park.
So Geelong, 60-point winners. There will be a presentation, as Nathan Burke mentioned, for a best on ground, an Anzac Day medalist, or an Anzac medalist, of course, signifying this significant weekend. There's one thing I can guarantee you, we will hear that loud and clear through the PA system, because this joint has probably the loudest speakers of any. I'm surprised you can't hear it from Melbourne. Anyway, Geelong by 60 points. And the thoughts of our experts are Nathan Burke and Jay Schultz.
Yeah, look at their day was, the Kangas. It was not through effort, I don't think, today at least. It was purely like Geelong's dominance around the ball and their setup around outside of the stoppage. Kangaroos boys are all inside in and under, which is why they get first possession and why they win clearances, but then they lose it on the outside, and Geelong just set up so well on the outside to then break away. They're so good with their skills. They hit their short kicks, and in turn the Kangaroos they didn't hit their short kicks, and it made it very, very hard for them to go down and score every day. And the Cats seem to just do it easy at times. They find a way to make easy scores, easy runs forwards, and the Roos feel like they have to battle every time they get a score.
Yeah, I think you're dead right with the way that they set up at a sort of like a contested ball. You've got Simpkin, Horne-Francis, Davies Uniacke. They're in the centre circle. So if you envisage the centre circle spread around the ground, they're very much in that middle circle, in the small circle. And when it spills out to the big circle, there's no one there. Their wings don't really have any influence on the game at all. Whereas the Geelong team, who are very well drilled and they're very experienced, they know, hang on, Selwood's in there getting it, so my role is to hang out here and wait for it to come out. And they've got all those parts of the stoppage and the contest covered, which is then allows them to run away and get the uncontested possession. So they had, I think it was a total of 57 extra uncontested possessions than what North Melbourne actually had, in a total of 77 extra possessions across the day. They went inside 50 an extra 17 times, a total of 62 on the day, which is an enormous amount inside 50.
Presentation downstairs very shortly with the teams lined up on the commentary wing. Repeating here, Geelong's 60-point winners over North Melbourne. Let's join that now.
Anzac Award. This is a big deal, guys. It's to be presented by the RSL Tasmania CEO, John Hardy. Please make him feel welcome, Bludston Arena. This is to the player, get this, who best displays the Anzac spirit. For over 100 years, Anzac has come to stand for the qualities which Australian and New Zealand forces have shown in service. These qualities were absolutely on display today. They are known as endurance, courage, ingenuity, good humour and mateship. John Hardy is here. He has the award, but Jim, you do have the name of the player who is winning this today.
Yeah, look, before I announce today's player, I'd love Bludston Arena, put your hands together for both teams who played their hearts out today here. There can only be one winner for this award. It goes to the bloke who kicked 6 goals today. Keep that round of applause going for Jeremy Cameron.
I think you'll find it's 7, but thanks to the commercial radio yahoos for their off-the-cuff presentation of Jeremy Cameron, who, as Nathan Burke predicted, would take out that award. Don't know if we'll hear from Jeremy Cameron. No, we won't. Okay, all the better to just pick it around up here. So Geelong by 60 points, and we'll try and get some reaction from in the rooms. Otherwise, we're heading off to Carrara for the Q Clash very shortly as well. Where do you place the Cats then, Jay and Berkey? I guess there's a lot of talk about the way they take on the game. They are aggressive, whether that game style is sustainable across a full season, particularly with an ageing list profile. But that's now 4 wins for them. They're up into 6th. Where do you place the Cats at the moment?
I look at all the pieces of the puzzle that you need to be a good team, and I think they've got it. When you look at De Koning playing as that key defender now, I think that's been a really big win for them. It allows them to pretty much do whatever they want with blitz-ups, who can also play that role as well, or play in the ruck. Tom Stewart down there allows him to run around and do what he wants, but I just think that extra key defender that they've got in their armoury now is really important. Obviously, Radaglia will come back in at some stage. Where do they put him? Is there room for him up forward? Is there room for him in the ruck? Reece Stanley's doing a pretty good job at the moment, so I think that combined with the small players they've now got up forward, they're not just Cameron and Hawkins focused. I think those guys, as they grow into the season, will become even more dangerous players. So all the pieces of the puzzle are there. We've just got to put it all together when it counts.
Yeah, I think they're good players. And once they get to this stage of their career, are like, well, how can I take my game to the next level? And it's not going to be anything extra they do. It's going to be how much they take the younger guys that they've got coming through under their wings to make them better players, because that's only going to in turn help their game. And I think they do that really well. The Selwers and Tommy and Jez, I know that they get around those younger guys, and that's only going to help them play better footy as well and better as a team. We say they've got an ageing list, but they've got a really good bunch of young guys coming through as well, which is going to help them. So I think that they could surprise a few towards the end of the year, and if they have a good run, that they could be right there at the end.
It's now 9 wins in a row the Cats have had against North Melbourne. So North's last win was way back around 2015. In fact, Sean Higgins played for that game, in that game for North Melbourne, of course, on the other side here for Geelong today. North's recent record at Bellerive, I guess their recent record all up, being last year's Wooden Spooners, is nothing to really be mentioned, but the Cats far too strong in key moments and too strong, particularly in the second half, right across proceedings here at Bellerive Oval today. We've seen Oliver Dempsey as well just go and thank some of the fans that have turned out for him, a lot of his mates down there who had their shirts off in the, well, I won't say icy conditions, but it is a chilly, sunny afternoon here in Hobart, and he's just soaking up the adoration from his mates.
Yeah, there you go. They're taking their shirts off again.
Here we go.
They were cold for a minute there, but they're taking them back
there's
off.
The official Geelong photographer, I think, who wants to get or the videographer who wants to get a bit of that, and maybe even just going to get a photo with the guys. So we've got I Love Dempsey emblazoned. They've got it each with a letter or a love heart emblazoned across their bare chests, and they are braving quite a cool afternoon, although probably not so cool by the usual standards anyway. It's nice to see. It is a nice story. We had debutants for either side today, Ollie Dempsey for Geelong and Paul Curtis for North Melbourne, and each of those managed to score goals, and now plenty of loud cheers as well from Oliver Dempsey as he makes his way off behind his skipper Joel Selwood, and the Cats just revel in this 60-point victory over North Melbourne at Bellerive Oval this afternoon. They're on their way down to you, Nicole Bresnahan. You can describe what you're seeing down there in the Geelong rooms. It might take them a little while. They're just walking down the race here. And most of the Cats fans here at Belrive have come to sort of on either side of the race to clap them in. But very good victory in response to that loss last week on Easter Monday.
Yeah, they're just coming in now, guys, and obviously a very happy Cats after a big 60-point win over the Kangas.
I'm sure we'll see the debutant in the middle. Call them in for us, Nicole. What are you seeing down there? Well, here we go. Here's the song.
We're always on the ball. We play the game as it should be played. Hey, at home or far away. We're on the side from door to line. Back it in your pub.
Oh, yeah, sung with gusto. They're back on the winners list. And a nice congratulations I can see as well from Chris Scott with Ollie Dempsey there in the middle. So that is nice to see. Hey, Nicole, thank you very much for your efforts this afternoon. We'll hear from you tomorrow in Launceston.
Thanks, guys.
Nicole Bresnahan with us on the boundary today on Grandstand AFL. You can keep your texts coming right across the day, 0437 774 774. We're off to Carrara next for Gold Coast and the Brisbane Lions. Of course, Richmond and Melbourne to come from the MCG later on. A few numbers quickly if we can, please, Chris Rowbottom.
North Melbourne couldn't get their hands on the ball, could they? And it's reflected in the stats. Luke Davies-Uniacke was the highest possession winner for the Roos with just 23. Luke McDonald had 22 and Simpkin had 21. So only 3 players for North Melbourne who managed to have over 21 disposals, and only one who had 22 plus. None had more than 25. It was a slightly different story for Geelong. Zach Tui had 33 disposals after 21 in the first half. Guthrie 28, Smith 25, Selwood 24, 23 apiece to Atkins and Stewart. So some usual suspects there for the Cats getting their hands on the footy this afternoon.
Next week, North Melbourne have got Carlton at Docklands Saturday night. And as we were talking before about the fact that Ben Mackay and Harry Mackay haven't played against each other. The brothers, of course, we saw Ben Mackay didn't finish the game. There was a bit of concern as well for Nick Larkey, but he was on the field despite the fact he was limping, maybe just a bit sore or cramped late in the game. But North, they've got Carlton next up, Docklands Saturday night, while Geelong have got Freo at Kardinia Park at home on Saturday afternoon. Nathan Burke, how did your votes, which doubled as the official best on ground voting, how did that go for the ABC Footballer of the Year?
It went okay, I think. I've given Jeremy Cameron 3. He's 7 goals. That last one just got him over the line. It was a tight tussle between he and Zach Tui, who I gave 2. And I gave Guthrie 1 vote. I thought his 28 possessions were pretty much spread over the whole 4 quarters of the game. He does a lot of the sort of the stuff that you don't really notice. But I thought for a 4-quarter effort, Guthrie 1, Tui 2, and Cameron 3. Any complaints there, Jay Schultz?
Nah, mate, nah. Very fair as well. When you have a forward that kicks 7 goals, it's fair to say he's had a fair impact on the game, I would have thought.
Yeah, so that's the situation here. Geelong 17, 19, 121. North Melbourne 9, 7, 61. It is their second biggest win of the year, so 60 points. Should they have won by more, Berkey? I mean, 76 points at one stage. You can't complain about a 10-goal win, but percentage is so important. Had their opportunities at times.
Yeah, to let the Kangaroos jump out to 9 goals, 7 and kick 61, they wouldn't have liked that. I saw last night Port Adelaide playing West Coast, and we said they had to finish it off, even for their confidence, to finish a team right off. Geelong had a good win, but didn't do that today.
Yeah, 2 goals, 4 at the half, North Melbourne. So picked it for the 7 majors in that second half. Chris, thank you very much. We'll see you again tomorrow in Launceston.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Nice little weekend so far. Special day. Anzac Day tomorrow, of course. And as I say, footy always just finds its place. It's not a football day, but football finds its place on this significant day in Australia. Jay Schultz, great debut. We'll hear from you again tomorrow.
Yeah, thanks, boys. Loved it. Looking forward to it again tomorrow.
See you tomorrow, Berkey.
See you guys.
And the whole team back tomorrow in Launceston for Hawthorn v Sydney. Thanks to Nicole Bresnahan as well, and to our tech team as well, Luke and Baldy here at Bellerive, and to Craig Davis back in the studio. To you, most importantly, for your company as well, it was a walkover first up. Geelong far too strong for North Melbourne. What does Q Clash 22 have in store? We're up there next at Carrara here on Grandstand AFL.